Enjoy the podcast tonight. Enjoy the podcast tonight.
What is up? It is Monday. Mondays are so wonderful this time of year, even though they're Mondays. We somehow make them bearable, if not enjoyable. I am joined by my good friend, Troy Honaker. It is always good to have you here, Troy. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's good to be back. You know, I was on a little hiatus there as we got some new guys in, but I was watching from afar. And yeah, I'm glad to be back and a lot of combine news. And it's good seeing. It's funny, again, doing this process now because I believe I was on the first week to now. So now I'm recognizing some names a bit more in their tape and especially with the combine results. So yeah, it's a good week to be back.
Yeah, and the combine, I love the combine, obviously, and it was great because I've been looking at the profiles and the PFF grades and doing these mock drafts and occasionally looking at some highlights of players, but it was just really great to see some of these guys and see how they moved in the drills and catch their times, and you know, it really kind of helped reinforce some thoughts, and we'll get into that. Real quick, let me say hey to all the great folks that are hanging out with us. Randy Morrison, thanks for being here. Woo! Appreciate you being here. We've got Brett Jones, trade down. I'm on that train, but we'll be talking about that more in the coming weeks. We got Grandizer doing what he always does so well, holding down the chat. Thank you for all you do, Grandizer. Appreciate you. We have Agent 47. Any mock draft that trading our third pick to more has my approval. So Agent 47 is also on the trade back train. I think we're going to see people moving more in that direction. I think we are not. I get it if you're not, but I think it's going to increasingly become appealing to people. Drew McWhorter, happy Monday, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Mikey, what is up, dude? Thanks for being here. Gary Coker, thanks for hanging out with us. Hang out like a hair and a biscuit. Buckle up, right? Jonathan Usman, love your content. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. I appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. We have Gannon Ball. School is in lesson LFG. Troy's kitchen talk. Very good. Yes. This is kitchen
I know.
talk.
I'm out of my like little bedroom there. I've released it. My girlfriend's flying home today, so if I do leave all of a sudden, that'd be why. So I'm out in the I'm out in the main room now. I've been let out of my cage.
Nice. Well, and I appreciate you jumping on with us on such tight schedule. Then we got Blake Ramsey, trade back to Lions for 619. I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. Get a couple first round picks like that. That would be awesome. Right. We've got Teo Capero. Thank you, Capero. Thank you for being here. What's up? Happy Mock Draft Monday. All right. So let's get into some of the conversation. There's some news we want to talk about, some different things. So let's get right into it. So the first thing up is, if you didn't see the tweet, Ian Rappaport confirmed that the AZ Cardinals are expected to move on from center Rodney Hudson and wide receiver Robbie Anderson. That's chosen Anderson to you, excuse me. Sources say Hudson had previously reduced his salary to $2 million, which often indicates a retirement. He'll decide his future soon. Meanwhile, Anderson's release saves $12 million against the cap. I think I speak for every Cardinals fan who's hanging out with us when I say, you don't say, right? Because listen, we all knew this was coming, right? That would be happening. It seemed like the obvious thing. Do you have any thoughts you want to add to that, though? The whole, the moves that are coming.
Yeah, it's not surprising that these moves are being made. The chosen Robbie Anderson one. It's kind of unfortunate because I think on paper we thought it could have been actually pretty solid. You know, a burner who can just tear up the side of the field, and when those deep balls, Kyler's usually so good at throwing, but you know, Kyler didn't have a great. I mean, it's just the dumpster fire year. So obviously, not surprising he moved on. The Rodney Hudson one is just kind of a sad ending. I mean, I was excited when we made that trade because he was. I mean, I really wanted Lindsley.
Yeah,
the center for
Corey Lindsley.
Corey Lindsley. Yeah. So I was bummed to get him, but you know, the Hudson one was a good deal, and he was great that first year for us. And then, you know, just older player, just kind of physical took its toll on him, and you know, and that was the end of that. I guess this is almost a teaching moment because we all thought he like quit on the team. He was just collecting a paycheck, and then it turns out like his body's literally like falling apart on him. Like, I mean, not literally, but like he's physically like so beat up, and yeah, he took the Cardinals for a ride, but that's not his fault. That's the Cardinals being not proactive and having his position a backup plan ready. So feel bad for Rodney Hudson. Hopefully he, gets better and enjoys his retirement.
Yeah, I know it's become kind of a popular thing to say with fans that he quit on the team and he stole all that money from him or whatever people want to say about it. And I get the frustration. I don't, I don't think he was trying to sit there and milk it. I think he wanted to play, and the injury he couldn't. So yeah. I don't think there was anything malicious or, on his end or scheming, but it was just really unfortunate, right? So, it is what it is, but he's moved on. Real quick, Cruz, thank you for the Cruz bought a t-shirt, didn't have PayPal, so he's paying me through Super Chat. So thank you for this. Appreciate that. And a little extra. Thank you so much. Cruz, your t-shirt, I sent it out Friday, so it should be in the mail. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. It didn't work out. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And Robbie Anderson, someone on Twitter, I forget who it was. And if you're in here, go ahead and claim that. And I was like, oh no, who's going to take his 3 targets?
I know, right?
Yeah. So real quick, let me say to some of the other folks who jumped in here. We got Lance, MDMLFG. Hey, Joe, appreciate you being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Moore's Legacy had chosen for the XFL, as you said. Elite Flight loves the meme. Thank you for hanging out with us. See if there's anyone else. I think that's everyone. So
on the Robbie Anderson thing, real quick.
Yeah.
If we assume D-Hop's going to get traded, which I think we all anticipate happening, like our wide receiver room is incredibly small, both literally and height wise. Like we have no one left. We have Antoine Wesley, Hollywood, Rondale.
Hopefully we bring back Dortch. We'll see.
Hopefully, but he's a free agent. AJ Green just retired.
Yep,
D-Hop's gone. Robbie Anderson's gone. Like we have 3 wide receivers on the roster essentially right now.
Yes, I think they will bring someone in, probably a mid-tier free agent, no one terribly expensive. Yeah. And I think they'll be drafting someone, but probably more like on day 3. But you're right. And, I think they're going to lean much more on the tight ends. Probably.
I guess we're kind of programmed to think of Cliff's offense of need at least 4 guys to go. And hopefully we're not moving in that direction anymore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see, right? So, yeah, no, that's a great point. We'll have to see what happens with the receiver situation. Obviously, they're going to have to bring back and/or add some people, especially if they move on from Hopkins. In my opinion, I don't think they're going to invest a lot of capital in the position this year. I think they're going to go to other areas, but they'll pick up someone somewhere. So I think that's a great point you bring up. Real quick, we got Kyler in the house. It's Mock Draft Monday. Appreciate you jumping in here, and he submitted a mock draft this week. So yeah. So okay. So let's talk a little bit about the combine, right? Scouting combine just finished. I watched a lot of it. I maybe skimmed some of it, fast forwarded at some points, but I watched like the 40s for most of the position groups and the position drills for the positions that the players I was particularly interested in. So I caught a good bit of it. Obviously, looked at the different times and things like that, even for things I didn't watch. So there's a lot of stock up, stock down conversation right now. So we put together a list between the two of us of some of the players we see as maybe stock up, stock down, just that maybe our view of them as potential draft picks for the Cardinals has gone one way or the other based on their performance at the combine. So Troy, why don't you get us started with your first stock up player?
Mr. Christian Gonzalez from the University of Oregon. Obviously probably one of the top 1 or 2, depending on your point of view, cornerback prospects this year. His RAS scores, which is like the relative athletic score. I mean, maybe that's how it is, but basically how athletic these guys are and how they compare to their class. He's like top 1 or 2 again. So not only is he combining great tape, which that's kind of always what the combine is. And someone put on Twitter, maybe it's K1 since day 1 or someone, but like the combine shouldn't combine should just reinforce on what you see on the tape and stuff. And so seeing that should really just make you feel good about that. And spoiler alert, you might see some of that in one of my mock drafts. But so yeah, big stock up on him. I'm kind of in the camp if we do trade down to definitely eye him coming out there.
Yeah, and I talked about this a little bit and mentioned this, I think, on Twitter a little bit. And I watched his drills and his 40, and it's not just that the athleticism and the time were really good, which they were, but he is so smooth. Like running, it looked like he was gliding. It didn't look like it was any effort. And then when I watched the drills, the way he moved, like they always talk about fluid hips with defensive backs. I mean, just the way he shifted his hips on some of those drills where you have to kind of go back and forth the way you're facing, and just the way he ran all of them, it just was smooth. He looked more fluid than anyone else I saw running those drills. It just really stood out. And that, as much as anything, impressed me, and so that, man, I'm with you on that. He was one of my top stock up guys. So a guy I'm going to mention is an offensive lineman. He obviously did my video on offensive lineman recently, so that's been something I've really been paying attention. Obviously, we know it's an area of need for the Cardinals, so it's not surprising. I'm focusing on that a lot. I've got Braden Daniels. He played tackle and guard. He was mostly a tackle for Utah. I think at the NFL level he'll be a guard. He's like 6'4", so he's he could play tackle. But man, he also had a really good combine in terms of his athletic score, and all those measurables. His RAS, relative athletic score, was 9.64. His 40-yard dash, all those measurables were good. The only things that really he was dinged on were his height and weight. He's a little small, but in a zone running scheme, that's not as big of a deal, and you can always add muscle and weight at the NFL. So he's a guy, he was one of the 10 players on my video that I identified, and I really liked what I saw at the combine, and that just really reinforced for me that he's a player that I'd like to see the Cardinals land hopefully on day 3. Thoughts on him and or your next stock up?
No, I mean, I loved your offensive line video, but I'm going to shout that out and say it was really good. I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of scheme. Like we just talked about, we're moving away again, hopefully, from a lot of what Cliff Kingsbury was doing. Yeah. So I think we have to get more comfortable with the idea our linemen are going to be, much more suited to an outside zone type scheme, which requires a lot of athleticism, movement, and stuff like that. So keep that in mind as we move forward and see the guys who the Cardinals hopefully talk to. I guess hopefully we should see the guys they talk to match up with that, which I think you have some more opinions on that later. But yeah, you wanted all the wheels going the right direction. My next stock up, I'm going to keep in the cornerbacks. Hometown guy, Keely Ringo. I was high on him early just because, to be quite frank, I just Googled in November, top college prospects, and he was up there, even though he was actually having a mediocre year for Georgia. But I think he had the fastest 40 time, and for a guy at 6'2", I think he was like the biggest corner too in terms of weight, and like not made the tallest, but 6'2", 230, just a hulking specimen, and to run that fast is really exciting. Again, his tape's good. I mean, he's just a good solid corner, and I think if he's in the right scheme and setup, that could be really good, like a press man guy that comes and hits. That's exciting. Again, a little hometown bias, but what can I say?
So, Ringo is a guy who was early in the mock draft rankings higher and then was dropped down a lot. And I think there were some issues with his tape, his play. Of course, he's playing the SEC, so, he's playing against top competition. But I like what I saw at the combine. I think he's a stock up guy as well because he was so athletic. We kind of knew he would be. But, that was kind of the book on Marco Wilson. Super athletic, had some inconsistencies on film in college, but it's kind of the idea that you're bringing him in with the idea that he's clay that you can mold, right? And that a really, really athletic piece of clay. So I like that about him. So he's a guy who's going to need some coaching up, right? Like Marco Wilson did in some time. But Marco Wilson has really come on of late, and I'm really optimistic. I did a whole video about that. So I see Keely Ringo as one of those guys that maybe you get in the second, round. Maybe he falls to the third round. I think he's more second round guy.
I think the key to Ringo is you hope he drops a bit, because
yes,
I don't want to spend a premium pick on him just because, again, he needs a lot of coaching up and it kind of has to be in a good scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one thing I've kind of seen on Twitter or saw through another piece of Cardinals content was that Jonathan Gannon loves cornerbacks. He loves defensive backs, and he likes to coach them up. So he doesn't prioritize them in the draft because he thinks he can find value in later rounds, mid to late rounds. So again, that kind of could have hurts my Christian Gonzalez pick maybe, but but yeah, I don't know. He's seeing a guy at 6'2", 230 run that fast. That just gets the blood going,
Yeah, Agent 47 says he's okay if you get him 34. I know a couple people talking about, he had issues, couldn't cover an ant. Jameis smoked him. Motors Legacy saying,
Jameson Williams smoking everyone though, so
right,
you can't hold that against them.
And same with Marvin Harrison Jr., right? But listen, and I think for me, the whole thing with Keely Ringo is, yeah, I get it. Like there were some issues with the on film. And that's not what you're not drafting him for what he is as much as what he could be with him, because he's so athletic, right? And how big he is to be that fast. So I totally get that there are some blemishes in terms of the tape. But I like for this. And again, it's the same kind of idea with Marco Wilson, because they were able to develop that. So yeah, so I'm optimistic about that as well. If you get him at the right spot, right? Now my next guy is going with a receiver, Andre Iosivas out of Princeton. He's a big receiver. He's 6 foot, I think 3, 205, ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. I didn't know much about him, and I still need to look a little more into him. Obviously, Princeton does not put a lot of players in the NFL. But when his relative athletics score is 9.92, he was good, not just in the 40-yard dash, in everything. Like, so if you're familiar with the RAS scores, what those look like, there's a lot of green on his RAS score, which is a good thing. So he's a guy who on day 3, if you're looking, we talked about need to get some big receivers, a big athletic receiver. He went to Princeton, so he's smart. That'd be an interesting guy to bring in and develop on the outside. And the fact that he ran so well with big, tall receivers like that, you're usually happy if their 40-yard dashes are in the 4 or 5 range. If they got under 4 or 5, then that's impressive. So to me, that's a guy I'm going to be looking at a little bit more. So that's my second stock up. Thoughts on that and/or your next stock up?
I'm just going to kind of piggyback off that, because my next stock up is a very similar type profile player, in A.T. Perry. He's big, tall guy, and he's blindingly fast. I think he ran in 4.44, 4.5. He did
a 4.49, I think.
Yeah. Forget 6'2", 6'3" as a tall guy is cooking. And so again, he's good in the contested catches. Just the big wide out we've kind of been missing. Maybe we haven't had. I mean, AJ Green was like that version of us, and that was an old AJ Green. So yeah, I think again we know Kyler's good at throwing up those contested balls to deep balls. Who knows what this offense is going to look like with Drew Petzing, but I mean, Kyler has that ability. We've seen it time and time again with D-Hop and AJ Green. So again, if you can get him to the mid rounds later, these guys with exciting attributes, because that's really, you're just, at that point you are kind of just rolling the dice and hopefully, it works out.
Yeah. A.T. Perry is maybe in terms of a late round guy, maybe my favorite receiver. I really love that. He's good at the contested catches. The one knock I've heard about him is there are some drops. Like you just have to live with those drops sometimes. But he's, as you talked about, for his size, he's fast, smart. There's just a good route running. There's a lot of things to like about him. So yeah, I'm a big fan of him as well. So, and yeah, I'm with you. When I saw it was, let's see, it was a 4.47 was the official time. And when I didn't expect him to run that fast. I expected him to be another one of those guys that like, oh, he's a big receiver, but he'll be in the 4.5s somewhere. And when I saw that, I was really, really happy, right? We got folks in the chat. August, thanks for being here. Love Perry, right? Agent 47 loves Perry, right? Simon likes Yosevus, right? So yeah. Austin, thanks for being here. Asked, how do we know he won't take a corner early? Sirianni draft strategy is going to be way different than JG and Austin Ford's strategy. I mean, I think a cornerback early is absolutely possible. Like if the Cardinals trade back and Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson are both off the board, right? When they do end up picking, I think a cornerback is a good likelihood of who they would take. I think Jonathan Gannon will like having, a lockdown corner. So if they go corner early, yeah, Ringo probably isn't going to be the guy they look at in round 2 or 3. Then we're probably looking at edge rusher later. But if they do go edge rusher early, then Ringo's a guy you maybe look at later, right? Robert Moore's here. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you dropping in. David Jimenez, thought I missed it. Happy I made it. We're happy you made it too. You did not miss it. So, okay. So AT Parrot, I love it. I'm going to go with, my last stock up, and it's a position we know the Cardinals need. And I'm going with, Luke Whippler. All the centers that I saw, I thought had the best testing, especially in terms of the movement. Couple guys I like didn't have as good of movement as I would have hoped. Now, I will know, and I was listening to a PFF podcast earlier today, and they talked about this, that center is probably the position that is least dependent on athleticism amongst the positions in the NFL. And that's not meant as a knock. So like the fact that some of the centers didn't test as well is not something to, panic about, because there's so many other things that go into playing center well. So I'm trying not to overreact, good or bad, but Whippler seemed to be the most athletic of the centers. And he's also younger than our Lord and Savior, John Michael Schmitz. So I like him, right? I mean, listen, I still love JMS. Robert Moore saying, Joe, you're finally starting to see the line of Whippler versus JMS. I mean, listen, I've always liked Whippler. I'll be honest, there are 3 centers that I'd be happy if we end up with any one of them, right? JMS, Whippler, or Olusegun Olatimi. But the one that stood out to me was Whippler, at least from an athletic perspective. I get that's not everything, but again, the fact that he's younger, a little more athletic is certainly a nice thing and gave him a stock up for me. Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess you're assuming that JMS has a higher or lower ceiling, higher floor, being kind of older and just maybe kind of the tapes maybe a little better. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not Ryan Russillo on the grinding tape every night, but yeah, I guess with the center though, like again in like the outside zone scheme, like usually it's the guard and tackles that are pulling and moving. So assuming the center's probably not needing a lot of athleticism, as you were saying. So
yeah,
I don't know, really anyone at this point, because currently it's Billy Price, and we don't really need that. Is it even Billy Price? Does he have
he's a free agent, so we would have to make the choice to sign Billy Price, and that would indeed be a choice.
Yeah. So I mean, either one. I mean, if you're a center connoisseur, sure, why not knock yourself out? But it kind of seems like the past 2 or 3 centers have worked out good for the teams that drafted him in terms of Linderbaum. The Chiefs center that I totally just blanking. Who's the Chiefs center? The younger dude from,
of course, I'm blanking.
Oklahoma.
Sometime.
Is it from Oklahoma? Yeah, I don't know. Basically,
someone
else
will tell.
And Jurgens from the Eagles when he's had to step in. They've all played well. So I think if you get a good one early, I think we'll be okay. Which leads into my next point. My first stock down is our Lord and Savior JMS. Hit it for the first sad one.
Oh yeah, or wait. Oh, I wasn't
gotta,
ready. Wait.
It's got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
Yeah, I gave the short version. Yeah, how could you?
We
How
got
dare you?
minor chords there instead of the major chords.
Yeah, blasphemy.
I know.
mean, Creed Humphrey.
Creed Humphrey. There it
Yes,
is.
thank you. Thank you for everyone in the chat who dropped in for yeah. Please note Billy Price. I'm with you, Decimus. Right. Yeah. So
Let's bring Mason Cole back. Just kidding, everyone.
he's
More
actually
of
not
that.
been bad, but
Yeah.
now, yeah.
But yeah, just all the points we were just saying, kind of going against John Michael Schmitz. He didn't test very great for his RAS scores, and he's older. He's an older dude, so you're gonna have maybe a higher floor, a little more mature player who's ready. I mean, I guess all his tape is elite, but maybe not room for growth. I mean, there was some not rumors, but an ideology that some of the Georgia and Alabama players are almost not quite as desirable in the draft just because they feel like they're already kind of tapped out, like their ceiling isn't quite there or isn't quite as high as some of these other guys are. I mean, who knows if that's just the ideology. Who knows if there's any metrics that suggest that or not. But yeah, so that's my first stock down as our Lord and Savior. But hey, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah, I still love John Michael Schmitz. I agree, though, that I was a little disappointed in how bad the testing was. Again, it's not as critical for the position, and if they draft him, I will still be excited, and I think he's still going to be a good center. But I expected the numbers to be a little better, and same with Oluwatimi, the other center. He didn't run as well as I had hoped. But like you point out, you in the wide zone, with the pulling, the center, there's certain some people pull a little wider, and then you'll have some of the offensive linemen who will kind of pick up the blocks a little more immediately in front of them. So there's ways, I think, to work around that, right? But I think it's not insignificant, or it's not a non-factor, but it's not a deal breaker either, right? The testing.
Mm-hmm.
Agent 47 talking about the age. Offensive line can play until later 30, so not a big concern for me. Yeah, I think the age is not like a deal breaker either. It's one of those things where if you're deciding between two and they're pretty comparable, then it becomes a factor that's a tipping point, right? So it's something you consider that way, but it's certainly not a deal breaker. But if we like the two to a similar degree, the younger player, it's not even about how long they're going to play. It's also that he has more room to grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, David Jimenez, you can have a bad combine, still be a good player. Maybe it helps JMS fall to later cards pick. Hey, there you go, right?
Exactly. It's just all that, we'll get into it later, but is Jalen Carter is he now a worse player, not worse player? Did the news that came out? No, but his stock draft's probably going to fall.
Yeah.
Sometimes these guys just might not have a good workout. It's one day of the year. You don't know.
Yeah.
Some guy's eyes swelled shut on him while he was doing his workout.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, Eduardo's got a good one here. This isn't one that was on my list that I put together, but I agree with this. Andre Carter II from Army. He didn't do most of the drills, but he did the bench press, and it was I think 11 reps, and he would have been better off not doing it.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, he's a guy obviously from Army, so it's not going against major competition. His whole kind of stock as a prospect is built on he's got unique athletic traits that you're going to build, right? That you're going to develop. Now, he is still long. He's tall and long, and he still has that, right? That hasn't gone away. But the fact that his athleticism, he I think was supposed to be sort of a poor man's Tyree Wilson. And I know there's people in the chat who don't like Tyree Wilson, so they say that's a lower than poverty level. But I think Tyree Wilson's actually a good prospect. This is supposed to be a guy in that mold who's long and athletic, but he didn't do most of the drills, and the ones he didn't do well on. So that he's going to need to have some sort of pro day to kind of get his stock back up, or he's that's going to be rough for him. So I agree with Eduardo that he certainly is a stock down. My stock down guy that I'm going to mention is Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver out of Tennessee. He ran a 4.40.
And you had that drop, right?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. And like,
just dumb. But
the whole deal on Jalen Hyatt is he's supposed to be this really fast, deep threat, right? And he ran a 4.40, which is not bad. I mean, I just expected better. He was supposed to be that, he's 6 foot 176. So he's not short, but he's, not built very, he's not very stock. He doesn't have much to him, much mass. His other testing numbers were good. I just thought they'd be even better. And then, there were some drops in the way he looked in the drills. I don't know. People are talking about him as a first round pick. And to me, I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing something. I know there was some good production in college for Tennessee. I'm not saying he's not going to make it as a pro, but like as a guy that, I would not want the Cardinals to take him in the second round. If they were to take him later, I'd be okay. But I don't know. It just something that didn't quite work for me. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Nah, I kind of have a blind eye to him. Not super. I know the name Jalen Hyatt, but
yeah,
I wasn't super keyed into him. But yeah, I didn't see his. Usually, my totally unscientific method of judging the combine is when I just peruse Twitter, what name I see most. H.E. Perry's name I saw a lot. John Hyatt, I did not see a lot. The only clip I did see him was when he dropped that bomb from Will Levis, which is, such a non-real thing, but it just sticks in your head. So that's unfortunate for him, but
Well, and Austin makes a good point here. And listen, when we say stock down, it doesn't mean we would not want the Cardinals to consider drafting him. Austin saying Carter might be a nice pickup in round 3 or 4, right? Like, this is what it is with those guys who disappointed, didn't do what we had hoped. It's not that we wouldn't want to draft them. It's like, okay, well, maybe they fall, and in round 3 or 4, you take a shot on them because you're willing to take that risk there. It's not as premium of a pick as the first or second round. So, okay with it there, right? So, absolutely. That's kind of how I look at it. So okay. So the combine is behind us. There's other players we could look at for stock up, stock down. Some of the players I won't get into it, like Nolan Smith. Obviously, everyone talked about stock up. Generic Prince, running back, had a nice combine. Chase Brown, right? There's some guys that I think didn't have a great one. Kenny McIntosh didn't run well. We've talked about him a lot. Trey Dean didn't run well, but a guy who had a really good combine, an amazing combine, is a person I'm going to profile this week. And that is Adewale Adebayo. I watched a video of him saying his name, so I got it mostly right. Adewale Adebayo. He is listed as an edge rusher out of Northwestern. He's 22 years old, a senior. He's 6'2", 280, so he's one of those sort of hybrid tweener guys who maybe, kicks in inside some or plays outside or both. We've talked about this with JG's kind of multiple fronts that we think he's going to run defensively like they did in Philadelphia. I'm intrigued by guys with this profile because they can play the edge and move in, kick inside sometimes depending on the fronts. He's projected as a day 2 prospect. I think based on what we saw at the combine, and we'll talk about that in a minute, there's a chance he could be late in round 1, but I think he's still more of a day 2. But I'm really intrigued by him. Now, when you look at his PFF grades, they don't blow you away, right? He didn't play against top competition. There are a few nice teams on there, like Maryland had so many people at the combine, and and Illinois. There's some other teams in here that are decent, but he's not playing the SEC. But his PFF grades are and he's had a few sacks, but not a ton, and so you might wonder about that. But the thing that really kind of got him on my radar and everyone else's radar, people have been talking about him, PFF talked about him a lot, is his combine performance. Like, this is his RAS compared to one Mr. Aaron Donald. And I know RAS isn't everything, right? There's a lot more to what makes someone a good player. But like he compares very favorably. He's a little taller, little bit lighter, didn't bench as many, so he's not quite as strong, but he's faster. His 40-yard dash 4.49. Like this is a 4.49. One of the most that's one of the best performances for a guy his size ever. The 20-yard split, the 10-yard split, which really matter a lot those matter more for getting off the line. Those were elite. His vertical, his broad, which are signs of explosiveness. Didn't do the shuttle or 3-cone. This is a guy, everyone is talking about Kalijah Cansey as the Aaron Donald comp. And now this is a guy who at least athletically looks even more like that. Now, again, there's so much more to what makes Aaron Donald the greatest defensive lineman of our lifetime, right? Interior lineman of our lifetime, that his hand usage and things like this. So you can't just look at this and say, this guy will be him. But if you have a defensive lineman who has that kind of speed, right? And get up, right? Get off the line, you can do something with him with the right coaching. And, people talked about his grades and that, they were talking about that on PFF, that they really do think a lot of that had to do with the system. But again, we talked about that clay that you can mold. If you've got clay like this on that defensive line, you have the fastest defensive tackle in NFL history, right? Yeah, let's get him, right? For me, I would love to get this guy on day 2. So what are your thoughts, Troy?
Yeah, again, K1 Jordan P. He's all over my Twitter feed, and this guy was very. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Adebayo was all over it. Adewale.
Yes,
he's big on him, and yeah, his scores are insane. If we still had Keim, I would say please God no, because we've already seen what happened with this type of athlete with that coaching staff. But I think when hearing about JG and Nick Rawlis and these guys, they love to coach, they love to teach, they love to mold players. And again, like you were saying, in his kind of multiple different fronts and just kind of the way JG operates, I feel a lot more comfortable with this type of player in those hands. So yeah, he's super exciting. And again, I think what makes him kind of hard to identify in the tape is like he played kind of inside and an edge, or as an edge, and he's clearly more suited for one than the other. But again, an exciting piece of clay. Like a lot of these guys, a lot of people get excited for. Their numbers are insane, but it's the whole different ball game to the NFL. But yeah,
for sure. Ian Keller, thanks for dropping in. And he's talking about his best case scenario is taking Will Anderson at 3, and if not, hope we trade back, get more draft capital. And just to build on that, imagine if we somehow managed to get Will Anderson, and then in the second or third round got someone like Adewale, right? Just I'll tell you, I used to be on the Jalen Carter kind of train because I like interior defensive linemen. Obviously, with all the stuff on the news, and we'll talk about that a little bit, I've moved away from that. But not only for that reason, there's good interior defensive linemen on day 2 that I like a lot. So, but I also, there's some edge rushers like on day 2. So I actually don't mind trading back and taking a cornerback and getting someone like BJ Ojulari and then Adewale and got a couple guys like that. So
yeah.
Want to move on because I know we want to respect your time because
I have to get going here pretty quick. So
we're going to go to your mock draft.
I'll do the world's fastest mock draft preview.
Yes. So Troy's got 2 mock drafts. So this is the first one. Give us the short version of what went into this one.
Short version. So obviously traded with the Falcons, which seems to be a realistic option for the 8th, 2nd, and 3rd, and a future first, which I know has no bearing on this at all. Again, went to the dog, Christian Gonzalez. Love him. Yes. Went to JMS because he's our Lord and Savior, and hit BJ Ojulari, who is brothers, I believe, with
yes, he is.
The guy from the Giants. I would assume so. Then hit our Lord and Savior we just talked about, Adebayo. Just because we're assuming he's going to be an interior defensive lineman, not an edge. So PFF's lying there. Then hit the tackle because, again, we always need some line play on the trenches on both sides. Hit our second Lord and Savior, A.T. Perry.
We're polytheistic.
Exactly, yes. And then a name we've seen a lot. Again, I'm basically just copy. This is basically a K1 day one mock draft. I'm going to be totally honest. It's all him. And then the corner, I've seen a lot. These next two guys are literally in every mock draft because I think they're just there, and everyone's just like, sure, why not?
You're right.
Because I see it in everyone's mock draft. So yeah, the thing with the Travius Hodges Tomlinson is he's a short dude. He's only like 5'8". Like he's under 6 foot, which is sometimes a little worrying for corners. But hey, could be a good slot. But yeah, so that's basically the gist of it. For this guy. Oh, I also traded D-Hop to the Chiefs. Sorry.
Yes.
That's a key detail.
It's sounding more and more like a trade is going to happen. I mean, so Robert likes this one. Yeah, no JMS music. There'll be plenty of JMS music, but I want to let Troy to get through this and get out of here. I like pretty much all these picks. I think Bergeron's a good fit. He had a good combine. Yeah, good picks across the board. Let's let you get to the other one because I think this was a little more interesting.
Yeah, so this one I just went off the opinion that look, the Jalen Carter stuff is definitely slightly troubling.
Yes.
He was obviously very not forthright coming with what happened in that incident. So definitely I think there's those. I think this report is the character issues that I believe McShay was referring to in his report. About Jalen Carter, but you also have to take this not the grain of salt, but like there's a reason why this report came out just for like the day of the combine. Like there's always a lot of ulterior motives going on. So why was this report if Athens department knew about this forever, why is this now coming out? Who knows? So I just operated under the assumption that hey, maybe he's such a pure prospect that the Cardinals could not resist. Who knows? Everything we're hearing is that they're going to trade down, but I just want to try it anyway. So Jalen Carter, interior, again, BJ Ojulari again. Now our new Lord and Savior, Luke Whippler. There's no song for him.
Not yet.
Yeah, maybe it's we can do like a whip it good. Whippler good.
Yeah. I've thought about that.
Yeah. Traded Hop again, I think at this time to the Patriots. I would love to see the footage of Bill O'Brien and D-Hop in the same room. Ooh, that will be lovely, especially Bill O'Brien running the offense.
Right.
Great. Again, Matthew Bergeron is back. It's pretty much the same draft after that.
Right.
Same guys. Yeah. So, and then I don't know. And towards the end, I'm just started picking names because they were there, unfortunately. Because I don't know. Again, that Chandler Zavala guy, he's in everyone's mock draft.
Yes, I love him.
Is he good?
I think I love him. Brett Coleman loves him. He wasn't at the combine, so I want to see pro day stuff on him. But he's big, strong, smart, and can move. So
the interesting with Carter, but I didn't play this scenario up, but I think it's possible. Like I think there's a good shot. What if we trade back further and just get him later? At what point do you think he becomes too irresistible to teams?
So I mean, I think because
he's not going to miss time, the legality of the charge, like
if he's not going to miss time, I think he still goes in the top 10. It just reminds me a little bit of what's his name from Ole Miss, the tackle who dropped with that whole mask thing. Yeah, boy, we can't remember players' names for
I know
of us, but he's with the Houston Texans.
Tunsil.
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit. I'm not trying to make light of someone died in this situation, so I'm not trying to
say.
But in terms of the fall, if there's not going to be, if he's not doing time, I think in the top 10, I suspect he's off the Cardinals board. I assume
so too.
Yeah,
because of. I mean, it'd be
everything they've said about character being important. Yeah. I think they just, from a PR perspective, if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, they say that, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, you got to win football games. But yeah, I think not only is it I guess the thing is this move where it doesn't make sense is we're not getting a lot of extra picks, and all the signals seem to be pointing to we want to amass a lot of draft capital. I guess where it could get interesting if we trade down to like 8 or 9 and he's still on the board.
Yeah.
if they go for it or not.
That's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think they
not
do end up
against it.
trading back. Yeah, I think they end up trading back. I really do. The
I think they do.
quarterbacks
I
with
think
Richardson.
Yeah. Which, I mean, freaking Trey Lance got, that was 3 first-round picks. I mean, obviously, I think maybe Trey Lance is a case of why not to do that, but like Anthony Richardson's a much better prospect than Trey Lance is.
Yeah.
Come on, give us the 3 first-rounders. Let's do it.
Jordan P likes it. You've got.
I know he would.
Jordan P. Yeah.
I just plagiarized all your stuff, Jordan P. I'm sorry.
But you gave him credit for it. You cited your sources.
I know.
The professor here says you're okay. You cited your sources.
Exactly.
I know you got to get out of here, or your girlfriend might never let you come hang out with us again.
Yeah. No. But yeah, so that was it. I hope everyone loves it and adores it. Yeah, I'm excited to see what else. And I'll check the replay later, whatever else put up. But yeah, let's just, again, batten down the hatches. We need put the trenches in place,
For sure. Trenches, for sure. Troy, thanks for being here. I'll let you get out of here. But we will talk to you next time. See you later, buddy.
Absolutely. See you guys.
All right. So I'm going to hang out with y'all and talk. We're going to take before we get to my mock draft, I'll get to some of the comments here that y'all had, and I think there were some interesting comments I want to talk about. Ben Cork, thanks for being here. I'm getting here a bit late. What do you think about the NFLPA report card? There's AZ Sports Underground. We actually published an article about that, and I contributed a part to it along with Jackie and Evan. Aaron. I'm sorry, Aaron Van Buren. So definitely check that out. But the short version is it was a bad look, and I think Michael Bidwell's pushing back on some of that, but hopefully there's going to be some changes because there's some changes that need to happen. But it's also there's a lot to it. If you want to hear a longer conversation about it, actually, I retweeted a podcast. I joined the Take It Easy podcast with Walter Mitchell and Kyle Ledbetter, and we also talked about that some in there. So that was it was a marathon. It was a couple hour long, but great conversation. So, but short answer, it was a bad look. But if you want to hear more thoughts on it, go check out the podcast that I retweeted with the Take It Easy podcast that I was on. In fact, it was just published I think yesterday or today. But yeah, it was definitely a bad look. Let's see, Ryan Lindsay, thanks for being here. Yeah, you really want JMS, need interior offensive line help. I also think we should trade down to the first mock draft too. Yeah. I know I get the arguments of Will Anderson's too good to pass up, but to me, I mean, if you've been watching, I've always been kind of leaning a little towards that trade back, get more draft capital. And with the way that the combine went with Richardson, now he's going to be I think his stock is going to be up. And what happened with Jalen Carter, I am just much more in that direction. I know he is, I get how good Will Anderson is, but man, BJ Ojulari is a really good pass rusher. And if you can get someone like Christian Gonzalez or Witherspoon, get a shutdown corner in the first round trading back, and then get Ojulari and Adewale and some other defensive linemen and get 3 or 4 guys that are really good. I get none of them might be Will Anderson, but the sum of that is hard to resist from my perspective. So I just leave so much more in that direction. Doc's Cards closing on 4K subs. Yes. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah. We're getting closer to 3,600, and I'm hoping that by the time the season starts, we'll be getting to 4,000. So, I'm just so excited. Appreciate you all. You all are obviously the ones who do that. So, it's just been a great journey. So we're getting there. So thank you so much. Excited about that. So yeah, and Jose is not a fan of Carter with everything that happened. I totally get that, right? Doc's Card saying Cardinals don't need to take chances on controversial players. The spotlight would be too great. Yeah, the PR thing would be bad. Simon saying that Keim might have done that, right? That's a Keim specialty, right? You may not like Carter, but if your division rival takes him, then you're really gonna hate him. Then, well, yeah. But I you know what? I get that. But for me, Maybe there's some things that I care about more than that. I don't know, but I hear you. Boston Fort, thanks. Troy does a great job hanging out with us for sure. Jalen Carter saying Jordan P saying Jalen Carter and BJ Ojolari together with Zach Allen would be amazing, right? I just can't with Jalen Carter. I don't know. I get why people would want him, but yeah. Ryan saying I'd prefer if we trade back at Gonzalez or Witherspoon than snag JMS and reveal the second rounders from the trade, right? Yeah. What's the bare minimum you think Monty will get for Newt? That's a good question. I think the minimum, in my opinion, is a third rounder plus something else, like a third and a fifth, something like that, third and a future fourth. I think the maximum is a late first, but I think it's trending more towards like a second round pick from the reports we're hearing. So I think somewhere around a second round pick or maybe a combination of picks that are roughly comparable. We'll see, right? Let's see a couple other comments. Eduardo saying, I really think that Jalen Carter's off the Cardinals board. In my opinion, if he's on the board at 3 and Will Anderson's not, the Cardinals will trade down and select the quarterback Gonzalez or Witherspoon. I tend to agree as well. David's asking, where can I share my mock draft? If you look in the description of the videos, there's where to get the mock drafts and then where to share them. There's a couple places you can tag me on Twitter with it. So follow me on Twitter and then tweet it to me. Or the Discord. If you aren't already part of the Discord, there's a link in how to get to the Discord as well. And you can share it with me in Discord as well. Those are the two places I prefer. I can also get them through Instagram, but I don't use Instagram a lot. But the best places are Twitter or Discord. So yeah. Let's see. What is up, Peo? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Zach, it's good to see you. Yeah, thanks for reminding everyone to hit the like button. My favorite Rams fan, content creator. Appreciate you in general. A good dude. Yeah, it will be a dream if we get 2 first trading back. I hear that, right? Drew is saying if you could get 2 extra seconds with a trade back and D-Hop, you could go luxury with number 34 and take Gibbs, Kamara 2.0, and K1 would be fun as hell. Hey, I wouldn't hate that. Yeah, let's see. Decimus saying if we trade down and get an extra first, would we consider JMS? I still think I don't think they'll take him in the first round. I think if they take him, I still think it's going to be second or even third. Before I was thinking he was going to go in the first round. Maybe I'm overreacting to the combine. I think he might end up now actually still being a day 2 pick, like second round. But if I think with the fact that there are a couple other good centers like Whippler, JMS, Ola Timmy, I don't think they're gonna. I think they would rather than do that. They'd wait because if they don't get JMS, there's other guys that they could take. That's my opinion. But yeah, good question, Alan. Thanks for being here. Trade down to Colts and still get Anderson. Don't the Seahawks get Anderson? We will regret it. Listen, that would be a great scenario if you could pull that off, right? For sure, right? Let's see. Anyone else? Boston Fort saying, Joe, do you know if there's a database with NFL and or college injuries? I'm sure there is. I don't know off the top of my head. I to be honest, I just kind of Google particular player, but that's a good question, but I don't know. If you find one, let me know though. Aaron Alvarado, thanks for being here. Low key, I think they should draft Justin Shorter, wide receiver from Florida. He's a big body, kind of like a less skilled AJ Brown, but can develop. Hey, I like the idea of taking a day 3 receiver, right? A big receiver on day 3. There are others that I like better, but but the ones I like will probably go earlier than he will. So yeah. Drew McWhorter likes him. I like Justin Shorter. I was just watching some tape on him last night. He's raw, needs a lot of coaching up, but Tony coming in, we've got that connection. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So, yeah, a lot of good questions and comments. So let me get to my mock draft and then we will get to what you all are here for, your mock drafts. So here's my mock draft. I did a trade back and then I did a trade back again. So I got some extra picks this year and some future picks, right? I got a future first rounder from the Raiders in the first trade back, plus an extra second and a fifth this year. And then I traded back just let's see, two spots, I think. Yeah, with the Panthers, and then got an extra second round pick and a future second round pick. Yeah, 3 hour show, right? Yeah, it's gonna be a nice one. Looks like Jose likes this, right? So I did a couple trade backs, which I think is not out of the realm of possibility. I think might have been Chuck Harris tweeted something about that. So I did that, and then I went with Devin Witherspoon, one of the top two cornerbacks, right, in the first round. Then Bijou Ojulari, right? Then Adewale, right, also in the second round. Luke Whippler. Then in the third round, A.T. Perry. Then I got running back Kendry Miller out of TCU. Then I got linebacker Dorian Williams, who had a really believe PFF was talking about. He had a good combine, and he's an interesting prospect. In round 4, getting another linebacker for this defense. And then I got Chandler Zavala, who I absolutely love. He's on most of my mock drafts. Then Moro Ojomo fell in this. He's usually going a little earlier, but he went in 5th round, so I just couldn't pass the value up. Braden Daniels, I talked about him earlier, tackle guard out of Utah, who I really like. And then Trey Dean, safety late. He didn't run well at the combine, but he's still a decent player. A backup center, a rotational, safety, in round 6 is a nice thing. So, so I don't know. I like this a lot. I think I addressed center. I got us a guard. I got a guard tackle, got some defensive linemen and some edge help, a receiver, a halfback, a potential shutdown corner. So, I try to hit everything, got a running back. So, yeah, it looks like folks here like this. So what's Lord Dane, what's your opinion on A.T. Perry and Will McDonald? Love them both. We talked about Perry a little bit earlier. McDonald has a lot of really good tools and traits athletically. He's an interesting guy if you're going edge rusher, a little bit, more like in the second round. There's a chance he goes late first round, but probably more second round pick. So like both of those players a lot, right? Dakota, did I get your mock draft Discord? I don't know that I did. If I did, I'm not sure. You have to let me know what your username is in Discord, but I don't remember seeing that. So let me know what name you go by in there. Agent 47 loves the trades. Lord Dane likes Ojulari. Brian Lindsay really likes A.T. Perry. We need someone tall. All of our current receivers are pretty short. I agree. Drew McWhorter likes these picks. Agent 47. Okay. Appreciate that. Yeah, Kyle, I agree. I was surprised he fell that far, in this mock. And in fact, that's not, he's kind of one of those 3 technique kind of, 6'something", 280, a little bit like Adewale. So that wasn't a position I would normally go. I'd rather have gone like more of a true nose tackle, a little bit bigger defensive lineman, but the value was too good. So I couldn't pass him up. Right. Matthew, thanks for being here. I hope did you get your t-shirt, Matthew? Let me know if you did. I sent it. Hopefully it's there, arrived. Matthew loves Witherspoon, Adewale, Miller, Zavala. Don't love Whippler or A.T. Perry. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's my mock draft. So, I really like the way that turned out as well. I would be ecstatic if we got that right. Yeah, Witherspoon, so good. Yeah, him and Gonzalez are both, either one. They're different. Gonzalez is more of an outside kind of a cornerback, a little smoother, more fluid. Witherspoon's a guy who can play inside or outside, and is a better tackler, a really good tackler. To me, Witherspoon is like an upgraded version of what Byron Murphy Jr. does, if that makes sense. He's that type of guy. In terms of he is really, Murphy's a guy who can play inside and outside, is a good tackler, is a good nickel, good on the outside. And Witherspoon is like that, but probably better. Right. So, all All right, Dakota, I didn't get, that Suns fan 1000. I did not get your mock draft, so I didn't see it. So, yeah, make sure you tag me on that. But yeah, Salty, what is up, dude? Saltiest Gamer, thanks for being here. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Everyone, check out his gaming channel. Check him out on Twitter. He's got a couple Twitter accounts, one for sports, one for gaming. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Yeah, imagine Witherspoon and Buddha in the same defense, right? Because that would be pretty awesome, right? Do I think Rashee Rice could be their 6-6? I also think he could be good. It's possible. He had a good combine, but it's funny. You look at guys, oh man, you look at guys like have a good combine. Like, oh man, they're going to be going up the board. But then when you do a mock draft with multiple rounds and you see there's so many good players. Sometimes a guy like that, doesn't go up as much as you thought. So that's possible, right? You didn't get the t-shirt yet. I know it took me a little while to get it out to you. So, yeah, let me know if you get it or when you get it. So awesome. All right. So, okay, let's get on now to your mock drafts. All right. So the first one of the night was submitted by Awesome Robert 20. He's got Tyree Wilson at number 3 overall. I know a lot of people, don't love that, but there's been some legitimate discussion of will Wilson go there. And in my opinion, I think what's going on is that the Cardinals have been tied to Wilson because they're interested, but their interest is more from the perspective that they plan to trade back and hope to get him. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. Obviously, I don't have any inside information. That's just me reading the tea leaves. But there are, Brett Coleman had a tweet, and I'm sure got probably a lot of mixed reaction. But he said, it's not out of the question that Tyree Wilson goes before Will Anderson. So, that would be interesting. Yeah, Matthew saying, yeah, the grammar police, Corey, Red Sea in Discord, he will not like this. Yeah. So then he's got cornerback Deontay Banks out of Maryland in the second round. Third round, Luke Whippler. I like that value there. Then Nathaniel Dell, Tank Dell, receiver out of Houston, a smaller receiver, a little bit faster. I'll tell you, I noticed in my mock drafts that Dell is there. Dell just kind of falls a lot. And I think that's because just people who do mock drafts don't take him much. So he always ends up falling and being available late. So a lot of people take him because the value is good. And then there's a little bit of a trade here. And then we've got Ed Herbig, an edge out of Wisconsin, tight end Zach Kuntz. Then we got cornerback Mekhi Blackman in the 6th round, and then another trade to get some picks, and Eric Gray. So listen, I know there's gonna be mixed opinions on the Tyree Wilson pick, right? I think I like him as a player better than some other folks, but for me, if you're taking him, I want it to be in a trade back scenario. Deontay Banks, good cornerback, out of Maryland, so I like that. Whippler in the 3rd round, I like that. I'm not going with Dell. If I'm drafting receiver, I'm going with a taller one, but I get why, people take him because of value. Get a developmental edge in the 4th round, a tight end, another cornerback, then a running back. They definitely need, in my opinion, to add a running back. For me, I think the only thing that, besides going with a short receiver, there's not enough offensive line help. You got Whippler, which is nice, but I think, in my opinion, I think the Cardinals are going to go with at least 2 offensive linemen, if not 3. Yeah, King Plumtree saying the same thing, right? At least one more offensive lineman. But there's some nice players on here, though, no doubt, right? So, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so thank you, Awesome Robert. Next up, we have Mountie Man. Thanks for submitting a mock draft, Mountie Man. I know you submitted some last season, mock draft Monday. It's good to see you back in the rotation here again. PFF loves this draft. Yeah. So we got Jalen Carter. We talked about him a bit earlier. Obviously, great player, just all the legal stuff. But from the talent wise, you can't argue with that. We got Deontay Banks again, right? Then we've got a little bit of a trade involved here to move around. Andre Carter, we talked about him. He had a rough go of it. So, for me, I think he's going to slip further than that. But we'll see. Then Whippler in the 3rd round, like that. Travius Hodges Tomlinson, kind of a slot corner. I wouldn't hate that. Maybe move, if assuming they bring back Byron, you play him more on the outside. Zavala, love that. Drew Scruggs, a center. For me, I didn't have Drew Scruggs as one of the centers that I thought the Cardinals would be interested in because to me, he wasn't athletic enough. Of course, you've got two centers here, so maybe you're moving one of them to guard. Then Keaton Thompson, receiver out of Virginia. I don't know much about him, but I don't mind taking some receivers late, right? So yeah, Eduardo saying no guard unless you're moving one of those guys to guard, right? So yeah. So no, but there's some nice players on here. I mean, listen, Carter, the legal stuff is an issue, right? But great player. Like Banks, love Whippler. Zavala's, one of my favorites there. So there's some really nice players here. Yeah, there's good value for Juice Scruggs, no doubt. And he had a nice combine. So and Decimus loves the Thompson pick. He's underrated. Yeah, okay, nice. I need to learn a little bit more about him, right? I got ripped for drafting two centers week 1 of Mock Draft Monday. Yeah, you did, didn't you, Robert? But here's the thing I'm going to say about centers, like, and really offensive linemen in general. Like, I've talked about this in my video. Monty Ossenfort with the Patriots, they did a great job of finding good offensive linemen all up and down the draft. Day 3, finding starters, even undrafted free agents, David Andrews. So, like, if Monty Ossenfort drafts a center or a guard on day 3, and it's not someone like I would have picked, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, at least until he shows me there's a reason not to, because I don't have a scouting background. So he knows more than I do. So if he likes a guy with the track record they had with the Patriots, I'm gonna trust what his eye and give him the benefit of the doubt. So yeah. Eduardo loves Travius Hodges Tomlinson. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a great value. He's a little smaller, but you need guys like that though. You need those slot corners. So yeah. Bird's eye view, Kyler saying Thompson is very Taysom Hill-esque. He played a ton of different positions. That's interesting. Okay. That is intriguing, right? Yeah, I'm going to have to answer for my crimes, ripping Robert for drafting 2 centers in week 1 Mock Draft Monday. Yes, for shame on me. All right, thank you, Mounty Man, though. Next mock draft is Chris Young. I didn't see Chris Young in the chat, but maybe he's there. Say hey if you're there. Got a trade back, right? Picking up some picks. Trade with the Eagles, right? Oh, guess what just came in the mail? Matthew just got his T-shirt. Woo! Awesome, right? Okay. Yeah. Austin saying Scruggs is more of a gap center. His weakness, the ability to get wide zone runs, and that's why I didn't include him on my video. But who knows, right? Maybe they do end up liking him for some reason. Okay, so Chris traded back, and then I got Lucas Van Ness, who's an really intriguing edge prospect. Has some really great traits. A little bit one of those bigger guys as well. Listen, he's a guy who had a nice combine. I would not mind getting him in a trade back scenario. So he's interesting. Then taking JMS in late first round. We love JMS, right? So, and of course, I almost forgot.
It's got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
All right, I need to be more on ball there, right, with that. Then we got Garrett Williams, a cornerback out of Syracuse, who I think a lot of people think is underrated. So it's a good deep cornerback class. So like the value if you get guys on day 2. Tank Dell, we talked about him, just small, fast. I want bigger receivers, but yeah. So then we got Ivan Pace, linebacker. We talk about a lot. I think the guy he gets compared to a lot is Malcolm Rodriguez, the guy the Detroit Lions drafted. He's a little shorter, but he does, as Brett Coleman likes to say, he does linebackery things really well. So he's a player I really like. I think you can probably get him a little later, but I like him. Dwayne McBride, halfback out of University of Alabama, Birmingham, really intriguing kind of smaller school prospect. Unfortunately, Drew Voorhees, and I think this was submitted before the injury, right? So this is really sad. Obviously, sad news. He got probably a ACL injury or one of the knee, ligaments. So he's going to be down for the year. But No Voorhees or low grade weight room training staff won't help him recover right from that grade. But you may have seen the news, like, dude, kudos to him. Like, even after that injury, he still went and did the bench press and did 36, 38 reps, like did the most of anyone. So he's not going to play this year, but someone's going to give him a chance next year. So it's unfortunate, he's probably, if I don't think he'll get drafted. If he does, it'll be later in day 3. But he's, someone's going to give him a chance. It's just unfortunate that happened, right? Then we got Stetson Bennett, quarterback out of Georgia, who had a nice combine. He's a little bit older, but prospect, but he had a nice combine. So, he's probably going to get drafted by someone, be a good backup. Braden Daniels, talked about him earlier, love him. And then safety Brandon Hill out of Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you had done this before the injury, you would have taken a different guard there. But I like a lot of the picks here. I like the positions. Maybe a few players I might have gone differently, but overall, Chris, good job. Thank you. Bird Gang Family Pacific Islander 9329. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Welcome to this live stream in the chat. So good job, Chris. Thank you. Next up, I'm not that damn person. I'm not going to say that because, yeah. But if you can read that, you can probably tell what that is. That damn person. All right. With the mock draft, again, Jalen Carter showing up early in the mock. Now, I don't know if this was submitted before the news broke or not, but either way, we've talked about it a bit. But great player, right? Deonte Banks, he's shown up on a few mocks today, like him, right? Got a little bit of a trade back to get some capital. We've got Luke Whippler again. Then we've got another cornerback from Maryland, Jacorian Bennett. And they've got, Maryland had a lot of players at the combine. So that was good for their program. So we got a couple cornerbacks from the same program. Then we've got Jacqueline Roy, defensive interior lineman from LSU. Stetson Bennett showing up again in the 4th round. Tank Bigsby, a halfback out of Auburn. Jalen Moreno Cropper, wide receiver out of Fresno State. I think he had a pretty good combine, if I'm remembering correctly. Then we get another halfback, Eric Gray. Then another defensive interior lineman, DJ Dale. So there's some nice players on here. You hit a lot of important positions. For me, maybe the one thing that is I would have liked to have seen is more offensive linemen, right? I mean, love Whippler, but we talked about this on other mock drafts. You really think they're not only that they need to get more offensive linemen, I really think they're going to probably take at least 2 offensive linemen in this draft. But there's a lot of good players in here. So overall, some nice players here. Let's see. Next up we have Stacks. Stacks has I think this is the first time submitting a mock draft, so thank you for doing that, for submitting your mock drafts. We got Jalen Carter again. So there was I believe it looks like there was a trade back that maybe the trade was kind of cut off from the image that was sent. Then we got Deonte Banks again. He's been popular today. Andre Carter again. We talked about him a bit. Maybe that he's probably going to go a little bit later. Whippler. He's been showing up a lot, probably in part because of that combine performance. Tank Dell again, in the 3rd round. We talked about him a little bit. Hodges Tomlinson, love that, right? Herbig, an edge rusher, kind of in the middle rounds. Zavala, we love that. Antonio Mafi, another guard I really like. He's not as athletic as Zavala, but so he's maybe not the ideal fit for a wide zone, but I think they could, there are offensive linemen they could make it work. And he's a good prospect. So I still like him a lot. Jake Bobo, nice big receiver out of UCLA, and then Stetson Bennett showing up again. So listen, maybe there's a few players that I might not have taken if it's me, but overall, Stacks, I like this mock draft. I think it's a good one. Brett Jones asking, what about picking up Stetson Bennett mid to late? For me, I think this year they should go with like a free agent kind of, veteran free agent guys. To me, the roster math is weird on it because think of it this way. Okay. Starting the year, you need 3 quarterbacks. You really need to have 3 quarterbacks. I know teams used to go with 2 quarterbacks. with injuries and with COVID, and I know that's kind of moving away, but you just really need 3 quarterbacks because on your active roster typically, because if you try to have them on your practice squad, someone's pulling them, you almost want a 4th one there. So if you go into the season, okay, who are your 3 quarterbacks? Well, you're going to sign a veteran probably, right, to start. Maybe Colt McCoy as the backup, depending on his injury situation, if he comes back and plays. And then you need a 3rd guy. Now, the 3rd guy could be a rookie, or it could be a guy like David Blau, bringing him back. But here's the problem. When Kyler Murray's healthy some point in the season, one of those 3 guys you have to release and hope you're going to get him on the practice squad, right? And if you're drafting a guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, and you're hoping to release him and get him on the practice squad, there's a good likelihood someone's going to poach him, claim him off waivers, and he won't make it to the practice squad. So the only reason I'm not big on drafting a quarterback this year is because those numbers are weird. So, okay, are you going to release Colt McCoy? Okay, maybe he'd be agreeable to that and going on the practice squad. Okay, maybe someone gets injured and they go on the IR and you don't have to worry about that. So there's some reasons maybe it could work. But with the whole Kyler injury starting at the season, injured and coming back, it just makes that weird. So for me, I'd rather go with, Jacoby Brissett, Colt McCoy, and David Blau to start the season. Kyler gets back, and if one of those 3 guys isn't injured, then you can cut Blau, try to get him back on the practice squad, and you're good. And if you want to draft a quarterback on day 3 next year to be that backup developmental guy, then I'm good with that. It just, this year, the numbers are weird, right? So that's my take on it. If they do draft someone like Stetson Bennett, I think it'd be nice. I mean, I think he'd be a good backup. I don't hate it. It's just, for me, I think in terms of roster stuff like that, and it's just a little weird. It's going to be weird to figure out what you're going to do with that. So that's me. But again, I understand why people want to take them. So good question though. Jay Green, thanks for being here. TCR family, what's good? A little late, but better late than ever. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with us for sure. Appreciate that. All right. So next up, but thank you, Sax. Good mock draft. Next up, we have Dominic. Dominic's got a trade back with the Lions, picking up, a couple extra picks from them. Didn't go for both of their first round picks. The simulator usually lets you pull that off, but still like getting some extra picks, moving back a little bit. And then we got Witherspoon, right? Love that. Nolan Smith in the second round. Now he had an amazing combine. I mean, his 40 time was out of this world. I will say, I know he falls there in the mock drafts a lot and in the second round. I think he's going in the first round. I mean, he just had such an amazing combine, and there are things to like about him on the tape. So I think Nolan Smith is not making it to pick 34, but listen, if he does, you're right to jump on that pick, right? Steve Avila, a guard / center out of TCU, pick 48. I like Steve Avila a lot. I didn't put him on my list in my video because he's a little bit bigger guy and he's not as fast. I tried to go with guys that were more athletic for pulling, but for his size, he moves well. So I could see it, right? Then Luke Whippler, we talked about him. Love that. Andre Carter got him in the 3rd round, so you let him slide. So, that I don't mind taking a chance on him there. Moro Ojomo, like what he brings, good, versatile kind of defensive lineman. Love A.T. Perry, right? Kendra Miller, halfback, love that. Love Chandler Zavala. We got Stetson Bennett showing up again and Trey Dean the 3rd. I mean, I think this is a solid mock. I mean, a really good one, actually. I think you did a good job. I like, just about all the picks. There might be a few things I would do different if it's me, but no, I think you did a good job. This is a solid mock, Dominic. Well done. Nolan Smith at that point would be wild, right? Yeah, and Eduardo, he'll probably be in the late first round, maybe even mid first round, right? But but it's still, it's if he's there in the mock, right, you take him, right? So, all right, nicely done, Dominic. Next up, we have a friendly Viking. He's got a trade back to, this is the chef's kiss. Mwah! If you trade back and still get Will Anderson, right? Trade back with Seattle and, get both of their first round picks, right? And a third. That's a great haul. You typically wouldn't expect to trade within the division like that. But you have to wonder. I know the Seahawks just signed Geno Smith to an extension, a 3-year extension. But a lot of people, I know there. Jordan P tweeted something about this, and I commented on Twitter about how Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida, is a guy that people are looking at. That the Seahawks might be a team that he'd be a good fit for, and I actually think that. I don't want him in the division if he ends up being good, but it makes a lot of sense because, Geno, they signed him to this extension, but it's kind of front loaded, like $50 million of guarantees in the first year, I think. And I could see them having that. So that contract, I haven't seen the full details, but based on the fact that it's over like about $100 million, but it's $50 million in the first year front loaded with all the bonuses and such. It seems like it's probably a contract they can get out of pretty easily in a year or two if they need to. So I could see them have Geno, he's like 34. So you have Geno for this year and then have Richardson as the guy they draft to develop. So I could maybe see the Seahawks wanting to move up to make sure they get Richardson. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But you got Will Anderson and then Myles Murphy, right? Ooh, yeah. First one I've seen getting both Anderson and Myles Murphy. That would be insane to get both of those guys. Then you've got tackle in the second round, Anton Harrison. Maybe you try to slot him in at right tackle. Luke Whippler, center. Love that. Then we got Eli Ricks, cornerback at Alabama in the third, and love the value there. I think he's an underrated player. Moro Ojomo, we've had him up here a few times. Love that. Tajay Spears, halfback out of Tulane, really nice running back from a little bit smaller program. So that's a nice that I really like the value there. Of course, Voorhees, unfortunately, the injury that changes things there. Ronnie Bell, I profiled him a while back. Really like him as a late round receiver, and then DJ Dale guy as a nose. He's not really going to give you much anything in the pass rush, but to get a nose tackle to help stop the run on late day 3, that's a nice value there. So I like this mock draft. There's a lot of things I like. Maybe maybe there's a few little things I would do different, but that's just my preferences. But I think this is solid. Well done, a friendly Viking. K.R. Gordon, thanks for being here. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate your generosity. Joe, what's up, my dude? Join me for a game in Arizona. Well, I'll tell you what. One of these years, I'm going to probably get out there for a game. If I do, I'll let folks know, and we'll get a whole crew together. The tricky part for me is I work at a university teaching, so I can't just take my vacation anytime. You have to work around the semesters because I have teaching, and I know they're on weekends, but flying in and out cross country. But the games in December are usually when my semester ends in December. So if I get out to Arizona, obviously December is the best time to go to Arizona too. If I get out to a game in Arizona, it's going to be in December, and I will be letting folks know that I'm coming out, and we'll get folks together and hang out. So I don't know if that's going to happen this next season or not, but eventually, right? Eventually. Season tickets, you got a spot any game. Appreciate. Oh man, thank you. I appreciate your kindness and generosity. When that time comes, I will definitely reach out to you. Appreciate that a lot. So someday it's going to happen. So got a couple comments. Let's see. Let's see. Myles Murphy is such a safer prospect than Tyree Wilson. Okay. And Kyler agrees with that. Matthew saying, I think Anton Harrison could be a really good pick if he's there at 34. He's my OT1, really athletic. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. I could see them doing a tackle on day 2. If they do, you're probably looking at someone you're trying to start at right tackle, at least in the short run. But all right. So cool. Nice mock though. Next one, we've got Brian Darko. I don't know if I've seen Brian in here, right? Let's see. Again, thank you for the super chat. Reach out anytime you have a ticket with me. I appreciate that for sure. We'll definitely reach out, let you know. Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. That means a lot for sure. Johannes, good morning from Germany. Thank you for tuning in. I absolutely love that we have fans of the Cardinals from Germany and Australia. Got folks from all over the world. I am so glad you're part of our community, and thank you for getting up and hanging out with us. It's it's got to be like 6:30 in the morning there. Let me know what time it is there. I think it's like 8 hours difference from where I might be off a little bit. But yes, thank you for hanging out with us. Brian Darko did a trade back, right? Moved back a bit, got some picks, then went with Kalijah Kancey. And I like Kalijah Kancey a lot, so I don't mind getting him, there in the first round. Then BJ Ojulari, I like that combination. Kancey Ojulari on the defensive line could be really dangerous together. I like that. And then, of course,
John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
It's 4:26 a.m. You are awesome. Thank you for getting up and hanging out with us. Wow. Appreciate you and I like to call the Cardinals fans who are, all across the world, the Cardinals diaspora, right? The dispersed fans of the Cardinals. So thank you for being part of our community. Appreciate you. So we got Kancey, Ojulari, Schmitz, then DeJuan big tackle. I like him. He is so big. He'd be your right tackle, and no one's moving him. I probably go with a little bit smaller athletic guys myself, but I profiled him obviously on here a while back, and he's a good one, no doubt. We've got a Hopkins trade in here, which you might start seeing me doing some Hopkins trades if the trade doesn't happen before my next Mock Draft Monday, because I think it's increasingly likely it's going to happen. So then we've got Garrett Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse, like that. Some really good depth at cornerbacks, like taking those guys. Christopher Smith, safety out of Georgia, so get a little bit depth at safety. DJ Turner, a real guy who ran the fastest 40 amongst cornerbacks, I believe, in the combine. A lot of people are going to be looking at him. He had a really good combine, especially that 40-yard dash time. Kenny McIntosh, he's a guy who didn't run well. I still like him on day 3. Because even though he's not super fast, he's good at catching the ball, and I think he'll be a guy who could be a productive player, even if he isn't the speediest guy. So I like that. Chandler Zavala, we love that. Alex Forsythe, the center out of Oregon, he's a guy I profiled in my video. So we got 2 centers here. So but he's late day 3, so maybe he's a backup depth piece, right? So don't mind that. And then we got the kicker, Jake Moody. So Brian, I think you did a good job here, man. I like it. You hit a lot of important positions. Maybe I would have liked to seen a receiver in there somewhere, but maybe we just go get them in free agency. So yeah, I don't hate that. I think that's a pretty good draft. Yeah, Edward, we really are the Cardinals diaspora, right? Yeah. Johannes, yeah, I think I follow you on Twitter too, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you've been with us for a long time. I don't blame you for being asleep. Listen, 4:30 in the morning. I'm sometimes stay up that late, but I don't ever get up that early. So, but appreciate you very much being part of our community and getting up, and that you've been following us for a while. So thank you. Brian, good job, man. I like this. I think this is a good mock. All right. Next up we have Judai, who is also very active in Discord. Appreciate you dropping a mock draft. So he's also got a trade back. Devin Witherspoon has been a popular pick today, and for good reason, right? And this is interesting. So we've got DeJuan Jones, you're right, the big right tackle, and then
It's got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
it's got JMS and Whippler in this one. So I guess you're moving one of them. Yeah, double centers, right? I guess you're moving one of them to guard, maybe, right? So that's spicy. All right. Then Byron Young, a nice defensive interior lineman out of Alabama, like that. Carl Brooks, I profiled him last week, I think. Like him as a kind of an intriguing prospect. Michael Wilson, a receiver that was getting some buzz. I know Jordan P loves Michael Wilson, so you're going to get a big A++ from him. Then Moro Ojomo, nice, another defensive interior lineman. Chandler Zavala, and then we got Keith Mitchell, halfback out of East Carolina, who had I believe he had a pretty nice little combine, then trade D the third safety. So yeah, there's a lot of nice players on here. I like it. I'd probably want I don't know. Well, you got a receiver in there, so I like that. I wouldn't do the double centers. Maybe that's me. But you know, there's a lot of good players. So I think this is a really good mock draft. So Travis, let's see, asking where can you send your mock drafts? So Travis, you can tweet it at me, tag me in a tweet with your mock draft, or in the Discord. If you aren't, I don't know if you're part of the Discord, but there's a link in the description of the video for joining that. You should, and anyone else, if you're not in the Discord, make sure you join. There's like almost 200 people in the Discord, and there's a nice conversation, daily conversations. Like every day there's stuff going on talking about Cardinals. So it's an active group. It's a good group. So, but you could submit it there, or you can submit it on Twitter. So yeah, thank you. Let's see. You're saying, I remember when I got up for that Thursday night game against the Broncos a couple years ago, game started 2 a.m. and went straight to work after. Ooh, man, that's a trooper, right? For sure. Yeah, so let's see. Jay Green, we do need to hit on a center with Ron Anson being iffy since last offseason. Yeah, I mean, so we need a center. We probably need to draft a center and sign like a kind of a veteran value kind of center, like not a top tier guy, but someone who can start if you need him to, right? So yeah, I think so, right? David saying drop second center, get a wide receiver earlier. Well, I wouldn't mind that, right? Yeah, but overall, Jedi, good mock. I like it, right? Yes, Discord is free to join too. Yes, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. I need to respond to your email. I did see your email. Maybe we can take care of that when we can do that when I'm in Fort Worth hanging out with you guys. But thank you, Kevin. Yes. So good mock draft. Cavalier 21. All right. So he's got a Hopkins trade. Now this is interesting. So he's got Hopkins as part of a draft pick trade. So he's got first round picks and a lot of stuff going on here. Okay. And then he's got Witherspoon and Ojulari, Mozzie Smith, Joe Tippmann. Tippmann's a really athletic center. The draft, like the profiles say he's the best pulling center in this draft. He's just really tall. That's why I kind of didn't include him on my list of 10, but I wouldn't be shocked if they took him. Nice player. Mozzie Smith is really talented interior defensive lineman. I really like his skill set. Carl Brooks, we like him. So that nice pick up there. We've got the slot corner in Hodges Tomlinson, like him. We got another center with Olatimi. So maybe you move one of them to guard, maybe. Stetson Bennett, the quarterback who's been in a couple mocks, right? Jalen Moreno-Cropper, big receiver. I believe he's a bigger receiver. So out of Fresno State, I think he had a nice combine. Quindell Johnson, safety out of Memphis. So yeah, got the cornerback, got the edge, defensive interior lineman, cornerbacks, got a center. Yeah, maybe if you're going to move one of those centers to guard, okay, I get that. Other than that, I'd probably, instead of two centers, I'd go one true guard in there, maybe take that second one and go Zavala, but yeah, overall, there's a lot of players like here. Let's see. With this trade, that's meant that the Eagles will not re-sign Jalen Hurts because of cap. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. But yeah, there's a lot of players I like on this. So maybe just tweak a few things, but yeah. All right. Good job. Next up we have Chad Ireland, one of our friends, part of the Cardinals diaspora from Australia. Appreciate you, Chad. I'm guessing you're probably going to be watching this tomorrow. You're not going to get up at whatever clock in the morning like Johannes did. But I appreciate you watching. When I know you always catch the streams later. And he did a little extra credit here. He did the trade with some for future picks, and then he did the kind of the DraftKings Super Bowl odds mock draft thing, who he would take with those future first round picks next year, at least projecting that. So little extra credit. The professor approves of the extra credit here, Chad. So we got the trade backs. Joey Porter Jr., a cornerback who had a nice combine too. He's got some long arms, right? So, and he ran pretty well. So I like him as a prospect too, so I would not mind that at all. I like that pick. Then we got Juwan Jones, big right tackle. We talked about him. Luke Whipple, their center, love that. Devon is Shane, right? Ran the fastest 40 for halfbacks. Agent 47 loves him. He is fast. He's smaller, but you're looking at him as that change of pace, third down back, right? So if you're going to get one who's fast, that's the fastest, right? So don't hate that. Edge Isaiah McGuire. So nice little developmental edge rusher in the middle rounds. I like doing that. Kobe Turner. I love him. We've talked about him before. Puka Nakua, a receiver at BYU. I need to look into him more. I know Jordan P loves him, is talking about him on Twitter a lot. So that's a guy I want to look at, but an intriguing receiver. And then Jake Moody, the kicker. So yeah, I mean, you got some offensive linemen, you got some halfbacks, you got halfback, got some defensive line, cornerback, got a receiver, a kicker. I think you hit all the notes. I think this is a good draft. And then in next year, with one of those picks, so the Cardinals, assuming the Cardinals have a really bad year, which, listen, with the injury and everything, it wouldn't be a shocker if they did, right? Marvin Harrison, junior wide receiver, then an edge, Jared Verse out of Florida State, and then a defensive lineman, JT Tuimoloau. I'm probably butchering his name, right? So getting some defensive line help. So a little extra credit with the future pick. So Chad, I like it, man. Thank you for submitting, and thank you again for being part of our community. Enjoy your day there in Australia. All right, next up we have Jay Green, who I know was in the chat earlier. Jay, thanks for your mock draft. So he's got multiple trade backs, and I did that in mine, right? So except he saw my two trades and said, hold my beer, right? And traded the third time. So getting some future picks in that, picking up some extra picks this year. I'm a fan of doing that. And I mean, the Patriots do that a lot. And I think, don't be surprised. I probably mentioned this before. One of the things they talked about, Michael Bidwell talked about in interviews, that Monty Ossenfort, he's coming in and he wasn't able to install his full process this year, right? Because there's not a lot of time for the draft. So he's kind of picking up with where their old processes were and building on that. And next year, he's going to install his whole processes. So what that means to me is he might not have all the kinds of information he is used to having about prospects with the Patriots, or at least not graded in the same ways. So he might not want to take he might want to push some of those picks out to next year when he feels like he's going to have more of the information he wants. So if Monty Ossenfort does multiple picks to add future, multiple trades to add future picks, that wouldn't shock me at all. If he tries to kind of punt a little bit on this draft, not completely, but say, I'm going to move back, add picks next year, because next year I'm going to have all the information I really am used to having. I could see that. Anyway, back to Jay's draft. Quentin Johnston, big receiver at TCU, a lot of tools, really interesting prospect, not great with contested catches. So that's the thing he needs to work on, but he's a big, fast receiver. Then obviously, Bijan, right? Robinson, late first round. Philosophically, I don't like taking running backs in the first round. I've talked about this before. If you're going to take one, he's the one, right? He seems like the complete package. I wouldn't do it in the first round. I'd go other positions, but I totally get it. Real quick, Kaya, thank you for the super chat. Have to grade some midterms, but Merry Mock Draft Monday. Thank you, Kyler. Have fun grading. I've got to get my grades submitted by Wednesday for midterm as well. So I feel that. But listen, the talent's there. No debate about the talent of Bijan Robinson. He is really good, right? I'm not taking him there, but it's more of a draft philosophy thing for me. Let's see. Gannon Balls, man, this stream is flooded with educated people. I like it. Yeah, right? We're a thinking man's channel, right? But then we've got, of course, we have
John Michael. He's our center, Schmitz.
even though we had John Michael Schmitz as one of our stock down guys, earlier, any draft with JMS is a winner. Then Steve Avila, so you got a guard there from TCU. He center guard. You're going to move him to guard probably in a scenario. Garrett Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse, like that. Eli Rick, so you went a couple cornerbacks. DeJuan Jones, the right tackle. Keanu Benton, defensive interior lineman, kind of a nose tackle like that. Carl Brooks, we like him. Unfortunately, Voorhees in the injury, right? And then we've got Jose Ramirez, I think he led the nation in sacks, if I'm not mistaken. Dude from Eastern Michigan. He's the guy everyone's talking about as the day 3 edge rusher that like people are going to want to get after because he, from a smaller program, but really productive and interesting prospect, right? So I like that. Then Savosia Dennis, linebacker out of Pitt. I've taken him on quite a few mock drafts, getting that linebacker in round 6, right? So, yeah, I mean, I like it. Guard, obviously, Voorhees, you go with a different guard because of the injury. Maybe we look at Zavala there instead. But I like it. Quentin Johnson's a boomer bust prospect there, right? Drew McWhorter says, Johnson is my Tyree Wilson wide receiver prospects. I want my 6'4" receiver to have better than 33% contested catch rate. That's fair. There's still some intriguing tools though that are hard to completely ignore, but I hear that, right? Gary Coker saying, University of Memphis, my favorite team. Go Quindell Johnson. I would love him to be a Cardinal. Okay, nice. Yeah. It's nice to see when you get to root for guys that you like out of college on your pro team. Tom Baum, thanks for being here. Only got 2 more exams for my college classes. So for my accelerated classes, nice. Matt Narantam, Mary Mock Draft Monday. I like that. Yeah, that has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? So Drew McWhorter likes Bajan more than Johnson. Yeah. Johnson has high upside, but he also has he's boomer bust, right? So I like some other receivers probably more than him, but the upside is there. We have Brian /Gazornik. Thanks for being here. Appreciate that. Joanna saying, I think I sent my mock draft to the right chat. You hopefully did, maybe. You did. I see it. So I will save that for next week. I just checked. It is there. So awesome. All right. Good job, Jay. I think there's some really nice picks on here. Next up, we have Nate Taylor, first time submitting. Thanks for submitting your mock draft. Multiple trade backs as well. This really getting really active with the trade backs. 4 trades, right? Here, getting some future draft capital and some extra picks, right? And then, so then we went with Nolan Smith, pick 18, had a great combine, right? He's going to go in the first round, pretty certain of that. Then Kalijah Cansey falls to round 2. Love that. I mean, if you got Nolan Smith and Cansey, I'd be pretty happy about that combo. I like that. Then Garrett Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse in the 3rd round. Nice value there. Moro Ojomo, again, defensive interior lineman. We talked about him before, like that. Got a couple more trades to move around the board a little bit. Dwayne McBride, halfback at a UAB, getting that running back kind of, early day 4, right? Yeah, it's like Madden with all the trades, right? For sure. Laura Dane likes Nolan Smith. Yeah, I think from what I hear, he's a guy with good character, right? Yeah, those 2 would be scary and fast, right? So like that combination. Chandler Zavala, love him, right? Then you got a center, Juice Scruggs, maybe not the center I'd go with, but, good value there in the 6th round nonetheless. Then we got a quarterback, Clayton Tune out of Houston, right? So you get that quarterback late there for the backup, developmental kind of guy. Got the kicker and the punter, right? So, Moody and Turk, right? So getting the special teams sorted out. So yeah, I mean, I like the emphasis on defense. I like that you got some offensive linemen. Maybe I'd like to see a receiver in there somewhere, but that's just me. But yeah, overall, some really nice picks here. Thank you for submitting that, Nate. I like it. Next up, just in time, Brian, here is yours, man. On cue, right? We have a couple trade backs as well, right? The multiple trade backs are popular right now. Then Devin Witherspoon, and then Kalijah Cansey, and then BJ Ojo. Oh my, okay. That is a nice trail. Imagine those 3, Devin Witherspoon, corner, and then Cansey and Ojulari all in the same defense. With those 3 picks, you have really done a lot to help fix this defense. I like that a lot. Then you get Steve Avila, play him at guard, and of course
got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
Got JMS. Then we've got a Hopkins trade in there Then you get Rashee Rice, right? So get a receiver in there. Devin Achane, the fast halfback we talked about. Moro Ojomo, interior defensive lineman, like that. And then I got a linebacker, Cam Jones out of Indiana. Jose Ramirez, we talked about him before, really intriguing kind of day 3 edge rusher prospect. Then Savosia Dennis, another linebacker around 6. So Agent 47, excuse me, our defense would be top 10. Maybe not right away, but that sure would be a nice start, right? Yeah, that would be a heck of a draft, right? Rice is good, Ramirez. Yeah, Gonzalez or Grandizer likes this one, right? Drew McWhorter is a hard person to please today, right? Doesn't like Rice, but that's a good mock aside from that, right? Yeah, I mean, I'd be pretty happy with this. Yeah, I mean, this is a heck of a draft, Brian. I'm not surprised, right? But good job, dude. Right? Yeah, Lord Dane would love this draft. Well done, Brian. Nice mock. All right, next up we have Breadstick Daddy, Austin. Austin, you still here hanging out with us, buddy? Austin was in the chat earlier, so Austin's also very, very, very active in Discord. So he's got a trade back scenario as well with the Lions getting a couple first-round picks. Witherspoon, Kalijah Cansey, right? Love those two. Josh Downs, yes, he's a smaller receiver. If you watched Brett Coleman's video, he mocked him to the Cardinals in early round 2. I know a lot of fans say he's small, but he does play big. His contested catch is better than guys that are bigger than him. So if you're gonna go with a small receiver, that's the guy you got to go with, right? So, sorry, Drew, I woke up the wrong side of the bed today, apparently, but yeah, that's a great mock. Brian, yeah, thank you for your mock. Good stuff. So, but Josh Downs, I don't hate the Josh Downs pick. I mean, the talent is there. I understand, though, Cardinals fans are just really, the only position that we like less right now than round 2 short receivers is round 1 linebackers, right? So I get it, right? But Josh Downs is a receiver. We got a Hopkins trade involved in this one, and then
it's got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
And then we've got John Michael Schmitz. We love that, right? In round 2, then Andre Carter. Getting him in round 3. We talked about him earlier. Dwayne McBride, the halfback. Carl Brooks, love that. Moro Ojomo, and Antonio Mafe. I like him as a guard. Again, there's guys I like better, but I do like him. Or I should say there are guys I like better for the wide zone, but I do like Mafe. He's a really good guard. And then Jonah Tovai, defensive interior at San Diego State, late, guy on day 3. So, Brooks and Ojomo fixing the defensive line, right? So Chris is asking how small is small though, because there's a big difference between 5'8" and 5'11". Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone knows off the head. Josh Downs, I know he's under 6 foot. I'm not sure, but yeah. But no, I mean, listen, you got all the key positions here. I like a lot of these players, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good mock. Johannes has the biggest crush on Tank Dell. Yeah, he falls in a lot of mocks. A lot of people take him, like I said earlier. But I don't know. In the combine, I just thought he would run faster for he's really small. You expected maybe a little bit faster 40-yard time, but maybe he does something like that at the pro day, right? So yeah, all right, check that. Cansey, Brooks, and Ojomo fixing the D line, right? Yeah, that defensive line would have some nice players there, right? Carter's an interesting prospect. But getting him in round 3 isn't so bad. So, yeah, good job, Austin. Appreciate it. J Station 86. He's got a trade back, and then Christian Gonzalez. Love that. We really like Gonzalez. We talked about him earlier, and then
it's got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
Real quick, people are saying Josh Downs and Tank Dell are both 5'10". Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah. So we got Christian Gonzalez. Love that. Love John Michael Schmitz. Then Steve Avila, right? Get a guard, and then DeJuan Jones tackle. Really fixing those trenches early, right? And I see you got Zavala later, so you are really investing in those trenches. Love that. We've got the Hopkins trade in there that got us the pick for DeJuan Jones, Andre Carter II. Again, a little guy who had a rough time, didn't do great at the combine, but still some intriguing traits to work with. Carl Brooks, love that. Got the halfback Tank Bigsby in round 4. Michael Wilson, receiver. A lot of people really like him, right? And then we got defensive interior Broderick Martin out of Western Kentucky. Chandler Zavala, love that. Then D Winters, he didn't grade really well PFF wise, but he ran well. He was like a 4.49, I think, or something like that. So that's an intriguing prospect later. So love the Gonzalez pick. Love the way you've addressed the trenches. Like Carl Brooks, there's some nice picks in here. So I think you did a good job. I like it. Yeah. Drew McWhorter, who is a tough critic, right? I love this one. He has Jones in his, but heard a rumor that Orlando Brown might want to play with K1. That changed. That would be interesting, right? GW Wow, thanks for being here. Appreciate you hanging out with us. A channel member, longtime supporter. Joanna is saying the thing is he looked so much faster in 4.5. Yeah, I'd be interested to see if he does a pro day and runs faster. A lot of times that does happen. I mean, because he's supposed to be fast. So maybe, maybe he just had a rough day running the day, right? So, yeah. Grandad said the only question here is the Carter pick. Good draft. Yeah, right. So, yeah. So there we go. Okay. Nice, Jay. I like it. Next up, let's have some fun as the name in Discord. If you're here, let us know. But that's the name that was submitted in our Discord. Multiple trade backs again. That's been a theme tonight. And then we have Joey Porter Jr. We talked about him earlier. Love him. Good length at corner. Really good press man corner. I don't know how much of that is a fit for what the Cardinals will do or not. I need to look a little more into their defensive scheme. I feel like they like to do a little more zone. Maybe he's good at that as well. We'll have to look a little more into that. But let's see. And Moore's Legacy say the Time Wars mess up for Tank Dell. Interesting. Okay. Game speed in pads also doesn't always get reflected in the formula. That's true. Kalijah Cansey, we have him, love him, right? Getting him. So again, a couple first round picks. Then Osiris Torrance. He's a big, powerful guard. I think he's a better fit for more of either an inside zone or power running scheme, but they would make it work, right? So you got 3 first round picks there. And then DeJuan Jones, right tackle. They're the big right tackle. And
got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
And then we've got obviously JMS, Nick Herbig, developmental edge in the 3rd round. Then Shane, the really fast halfback. Zavala at Chandler Zavala. So you got him too. Jared Clark, defensive interior lineman out of Coastal Carolina. Yashir Abdullah, edge out of Louisville. Then Stetson Bennett, the quarterback. Yeah. Rebuild the entire O-line with 1 mock draft, right? Can't be mad about that. Oh, wow. Really good draft. 5 starters off the bat. This one might be my favorite so far. Definitely emphasizing the trenches. There are some offensive linemen I like better for a fit for what I think Drew Petzing's going to do. That's just me though. But I really like a lot of players in here. I think this would definitely fix those trenches, right? Lord Dane says the Louisville edge. Yasir Abdullah is really good value. Interesting. Okay. I need to look at him a little bit more. Okay. Nicely done though. I think, and listen, this is getting rave reviews. So I think folks really like this mock. Well done. Next up, Avery 1X. He's got a trade back, right, as well. Witherspoon has been a really popular pick tonight, so love that. And then
got John Michael, he's our center, Schmitz.
JMS, we love that. Carl Brooks. There's a Hopkins trade in there for a 2nd round pick. Then we've got Shane, the fast halfback. Ojomo, the interior defensive lineman. A.T. Perry, love Perry, right? Then Ivan Pace, Chandler Zavala, Stetson Bennett, and then cornerback Cameron Mitchell in round 6. Yeah, I like this a lot. You've dressed the offensive line. You've got a halfback, receiver, defensive line, corner. Hit all the notes. Got some of my favorite players in here. So, I love Witherspoon, love John Michael Schmitz, obviously Brooks, Perry, Zavala. Yeah, there's some really nice. I like this one. Yeah, you're saying just can't ignore DeJuan Jones, 0 sacks. No, yeah, that's impressive, right? Yeah, Agent 47 saying we had a lot of mocks to trade our third pick so far. I think the majority of Cardinals fans already accept that trade our pick. I would tell you, I did a poll on my YouTube channel on the community tab. And right now it's 53% of the people who responded still want to take Will Anderson. 38% want to trade back, at least of the 465 that responded to my poll. So people are warming up to it. I don't know if most want to yet or not, but of course that's not a probability sample if you're a methodologist, but people are warming up to it, no doubt, right? In here for sure. Grander's a good draft. However, Carl Brooks is over drafted here. Okay, yeah. I think Carl Brooks, as a guy, I like him a lot. I probably look to take him later, right? So yeah, okay. GW, wow, who is the best kicker in the draft since we may not be going for fourth and sixth as much as sure. I haven't looked at kickers, but it seems like it's Moody. Jake Moody out of, I think, Michigan, but I haven't really looked at kickers at all. So I probably should do a little reading up on them, but that's the name I keep seeing pop up. Are all the trade backs because of Carter's situation? Randy Morrison, good question. I think that's part of it, but I also think part of it, I think that is part, but I think a part of it is also that we're seeing just so many, like with the quarterbacks that there's going to be a lot of teams that want to move up for quarterback. And just when we start thinking about, okay, what if 4 quarterbacks go in the top 5 or 7 picks, right? Not only that pushes the non-quarterback talent back. So if we trade back to 7 or 8 or 9 and 4 quarterbacks go before us, we picking at 7, 8 or 9, we still might get the 3rd or 4th best player in this draft who's a non-quarterback. So I think people are starting to be intrigued by the possibility of trading back, still getting a top 4 player-ish at 7, 8 or 9, but also adding draft capital. I think people are starting to kind of look at that. But Carter's part of it too. I think it's a confluence of the Carter situation. And I think just people starting to see that there's, with that now there are 4 quarterbacks people are excited about, that trading back, you can still get some really good talent. So that's my thought though. Grand answer. I do like Cameron Mitchell, plays corner and safety. Very versatile. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Chris saying I think consensus is that Moody is a top kicker, right? Drew is saying if Anderson's there, take him. If he's gone, trade back. I think that's where I'm at now with it. I think a lot of people are there. Eduardo agrees with that. I think that's where most people are at with that. Randy, flawless logic. Thanks, Randy. Well, thanks. I don't know if I wouldn't describe my logic as flawless, but man, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Drew likes the idea of getting more draft capital for a GM who has success in the process, not in his current role, but I trust his background. Yeah, that's kind of, again, I want to build a good, deep roster across the board. I get blue chip players, but anyway, I know we've talked about that a lot. But Avery, though, I like this mock. There's a lot of players like, good job. Next up, Robert Moore is here. Yeah, I know he was here in the chat. I think he's still here. And here is his mock draft. So he has done, the galaxy brain move, the one we all hope happens, right? Trade back and still get Will Anderson. So he traded back with the Colts, got Will Anderson. Then he got Deonte Banks. And wait, be still my heart. Did he actually take? If you've been with our live streams, you know that Robert takes Whippler most of the time, and his son watches with hope and anticipation that someday that his dad will take John Michael Schmitz, and he has, right? I think this moment is deserving of the John Michael Schmitz song in its entirety. That's right. Here it is.
John Michael, he's our center Schmitz. His name's on my draft too. No matter what they say, this mock is A-okay. It's got John Michael, he's our center Schmitz.
That's right. play that music. Does he deserve the full song? Yes, he does. Well, Robert's son deserves the full song because this is all about his son, right? So well done, Robert. I know your son is very proud right now. I hope he's listening, right? Yeah, so I hope he enjoyed it, right? Robert Moore, the actor. Yeah, okay. Yeah, with our luck, right? His son is sleeping. I hope he enjoyed that. I hope he did get to see it, right? All right, so John Michael Schmitz, then DeJuan Jones, the right tackle. We've got a Hopkins trade for the pick for Jones. Seeing that a lot, right? Whoa, Chad, you were able to join us. Appreciate you dropping in. I thought you'd be asleep, but thanks for hanging out with us. We got to your mock earlier, but I appreciate you hanging out, good sir. Then we got Keanu Benton, defensive interior lineman, Wisconsin, like that. Tank Bigsby got a halfback in round 3, like that as well. Chandler Zavala, love that. Wilson, Stetson Bennett, Trey Dean III, and Jake Moody. Yeah, I think there's a lot of nice picks in this, right? Yeah, I think this probably, and obviously getting Will Anderson and trading back. I think this is a winner, right? Hit on everything we kind of need. A lot of players that we really like. Yeah, that rebuilds most of the offensive line to pair with an edge rusher. I think you did a good job, right? For sure. So well done, Robert. And I hope your son enjoyed the song. All right. Let's see. David Jimenez saying, we lose games to the Hopkins. So if we trade him, can you see multiple receivers getting picked up? If we trade Hopkins, I think there's going to be one receiver drafted and then one signed as a free agent and not a big time one. We'll see. Who knows, right? Watch them just completely, prove me wrong, right? Go receiver round 1 and 2. But if I'd guess we're going to go receiver somewhere in the middle rounds and bring in a free agent if we trade Hopkins. That's my thoughts. We'll see though, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Grandizer likes the trading, the third pick, right? Yeah, we lose games with and without Hopkins, right? Yeah. Listen, we're trying to build for the future, no doubt, right? So, all right, Robert, good mock draft, dude. Lance Sheridan, thank you for dropping this mock draft with us. He also has a trade back with the Raiders, who I think are an interesting candidate to trade back. Obviously, they are going to be looking, for a quarterback. Christian Gonzalez, we like Christian Gonzalez, so obviously that is a nice pick in the trade back scenario. And
it's got John Michael, he's our center Schmitz.
So we got JMS, we love that. Jack Campbell, linebacker, arguably the best linebacker in this class, or at least one of them. I know Lance really likes Jack Campbell and likes taking him in. Round 3 is good value there. And I do think the Cardinals are going to look to add a linebacker either in the draft or free agency. I usually go linebacker later, but great player though, no doubt. So I don't hate that. H.E. Perry, we love him, right? Talked about him. Sam Laporta, tight end. So I know, some people go tight end, some don't. You got 2 tight ends here. If it's me, I'm probably going tight end more on day 3. I don't mind getting another one for depth because we don't know what's going on with Max Williams, if he'll be back or not. We don't know how long, if Zach Ertz is close to being ready to be back yet or not. So I wouldn't be shocked if they added a tight end. So, so that's an interesting pick there. Obviously Iowa has a good, puts good tight ends in the NFL. Moro Ojomo, he's shown up a lot today. We like him. Dwayne McBride getting a halfback on day 3 like that. Obviously, we love Zavala, love Kobe Turner, Braden Daniels, and then another tight end, Will Mallory. Yeah, I think that's a solid mock. Let's see. Lord Dane likes the selections. Drew saying that's a solid mock. Jack Campbell would be a sneaky good pick. Listen, Jack Campbell is probably going to be a really good player. So maybe for me, I'm not going linebacker that early, but I don't hate it. That pick. I think this is a really solid draft, Lance. I like it a lot, actually. So yeah. Well done, Lance. I think this is a good draft. Man, love getting Kobe Turner on day 3 too. If he fell to the 6th round, that would be a heck of a pickup. So yeah, like a lot of them on here. Good job, Lance. Next up, we have Walter Mitchell. If you know Walter Mitchell, writes for Revenge of the Birds. I frequently do podcasts with him and Kyle Ledbetter, and Walter is a really good dude. I hope you get a chance to watch this. Walter submitted a mock draft, so thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. So he also did the trade back scenario that we're talking about with the Colts, which is, really the ideal scenario. Got Will Anderson, right? So we like that. Josh Downs, the receiver, plays big. He's 5'10", as we talked about earlier, but plays big. Then we got Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State, tested well. And I know Walter some people talked about this on Twitter, and you had some conversations back and forth. Really slight, like really skinny dude, like really skinny. I would hope that he'll put a little bit of weight on. I mean, you just worry about him tackling and things like that. He's a ball hawk. He is absolutely a ball hawk. But when I saw how small he was, I was worried about that too. And I get that, that's not everything. And I if he can put on a little bit of muscle, then I'd feel a little better about that. But the guy gets to the ball. There's no doubt about that. So an intriguing pick. Adetomowa Adebayo. I can't pronounce his name. I used to be able to pronounce his name. Anyway, love him. Obviously, I profiled him earlier, so love that pick. Love A. Shane, speedy halfback. Walter's got an interesting trade here, right? He's traded DJ Humphries for a 3rd round pick and also Hopkins for a 3rd pick. So that's intriguing. I floated out there on Twitter a while back. Hey, if they're going to be trading to try to rebuild, trading Hopkins, do they consider trading Humphries because of Josh Jones being a younger left tackle? And, at least have to wonder about that. So, that's an interesting thought. I'm not sure if they'll do that. I know, but it wouldn't shock me if it happened, but, so he went ahead and did that. And then so he's got to get some extra picks. And you got Hodges Thomason, slot corner, to pair with Forbes. A.T. Perry, love him. We talked about that. Then a tight end, Laporta. We talked about that before and talked about him before. Then another cornerback. So you're really going heavy on the cornerbacks here. Jacorian Bennett out of Maryland. And then Zavala, guy I like. Then tackle Joshua Gray out of Oregon State. So there's some interesting picks here. No center, right? We really like to see a center with the needs. I know he mentioned, I think he sent a tweet that there were a lot of players in free agency that he was going to add when he sent this. In fact, let me just take a look at if I can find that. I know that he was going to be that with this. He had some signings, like there was a center he was going to sign. Here we go. So Walter Mitchell said he has the Cardinals signing Garrett Bradbury, center, guard, David, I don't know, N. Davis. I don't know, is that Nate Davis or something Davis? A tackle, Illuminor. I'm mispronouncing it probably. Then he has them signing Javon Hargrave, then a defensive end, Gaines, and then Zach Allen, Murphy, a safety, and trading Hopkins. Okay, so he's got the card in this scenario. He's got them signing some offensive linemen. So that's probably why he didn't draft a center. Okay. But we still like, around here that we really like taking centers, right? So yeah, if we could switch one pick for a center, this would be great. Randy said, I looked up Adewale after watching a piece on him, and he is ripped. He gained like 40 pounds muscle in college. Yeah, man, dude, that guy is a specimen, no doubt. So yeah. Yeah. Chris saying I love DJ Humphries, but the injuries worry me. That's fair, So yeah, Nate Davis, thanks for clarifying that. Yeah. Interesting. So all right. Yeah, thanks for sharing Walter's information here, Grandizer. So yeah, Walter, there's a lot of players I like on here, and I appreciate you submitting a mock. Hope you get a chance to watch this, and appreciate you in general. Thank you, Walter. Next up, Canucks 33-22. Matthew, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were in here earlier. Got a trade back and getting Will Anderson at 5th. So trade back with the Seahawks. So again, we talked about that scenario earlier, that might be one where they would be trading up for a quarterback, right? So we got Will Anderson and Kalijah Cansey. And Adewale. Oh, man. That's a nice combo. Adewale, Cansey, and Will Anderson. And then obviously you got a few other players like Benton in there. That defensive line all of a sudden becomes very scary. I like that. I like that combo. Nicely done there. Then we got Anton Harrison, tackle, right? So he's, maybe a guy we try to start at right tackle for now. Got the Hopkins trade involved. And obviously we mentioned Adewale. Got another trade to move back a little bit and get some picks. Keanu Benton, we mentioned the Tank Dell. So again, that speedy small receiver. Then we got Hodges Tomlinson, the slot corner. Then Jalen Jones, more of an outside corner. So you get a couple corners in the third round, some good value there. We got Olusegun Olatimi, a center that I like there in round 4. Kendry Miller, halfback. I like him a lot. Chandler Zavala, right? Wow, nice. Got another trade to move back a little bit. And then tight end Davis Allen out of Clemson. Need to look at him a little bit. I don't know a lot about him, but I don't mind. I like getting a tight end there on day 3. Got a quarterback, Aiden O'Connell out of Purdue, and then D Winters, linebacker, TCU. Yeah, I mean, I like this, Matthew. I really do. I think this is really good. Maybe the one thing I'd want a taller receiver than Tank Dell, but I get that, he falls there and he's speedy, right? But I'm nitpicking here, but man, I love what you did with the defensive line there, right? Man, yeah, like remade our entire D line one mock. Can't be mad about that, right? That's a theme, right? Lord Dane Anderson, can't see Adewale. Wow, right? Yeah, it turns our defense into a monster, right? Yeah, Edward saying Jonathan Gannon would be proud with this defensive picks, right? Yeah. We've talked about that. Yeah, Seattle's high on Anthony Richards, so that would be interesting to see what happens, right? Yeah, Grant Ezra thinks this is solid. In a scenario like this with both Anderson and Adewale, what happens with Cam Thomas and Sanders? Yeah. So, what happens is they rotate them and move them around. I think Will Anderson becomes, the edge, right? Outside linebacker / defensive end, depending on the front, right? They do multiple fronts, right? So, but he's on the edge, right? Cansey is kicked inside, right? He's kind of more that inside 3 technique kind of guy, I think. And then Adewale probably is a little more inside as well, right? And if they're on a 4 lineman front, I think it's Anderson, Cansey, Adewale. I mean, do they let Zach Allen go in that? I mean, you don't want to let him go, but you get him in there and then you rotate. Maybe Adewale plays on the edge and Allen and Cansey inside. And then, and then we rotate in Camus and Sanders, but they do rotating guys in. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, what do you do with all that? It's probably a little bit overkill, but man, that would be nice defense, right? Yeah. All these defensive players are just praying that Van Joseph doesn't draft them, right? They want to see the field the rookie year, right? Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Matthew, I like this draft though. Man, there's some nice players on that. Well done, my friend. We have Kyler Bird, who had to dip out. Hopefully he'll get to watch us later. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah. Let's go back. Matthew's got a comment. And then Golden would probably be released, right? So he's saying Golden would be released, let Allen walk, and then rotate Adewale, Cansey, Benton, Thomas, and Sanders for 3 spots. Yeah, that's probably what, I mean, we like Allen a lot around these parts, but that might be what they end up doing. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, good comment. Thank you. All right, Kyler Bird had to dip earlier, so hopefully he gets to watch this, but Kyler's got a mock draft with us. He's got a trade back, get a bunch of picks. Then he took Tyree Wilson at 9, which I don't hate that. I mean, I know people don't like Tyree Wilson as much as I do. I like him more than most people, I think, around here. But at pick 9, that'd be good value. Then Ojulari, right? Nice edge in round 2. Avila, right? Guard / center. And then Tipman, right? Really athletic center there. Get those 2 guys in your interior. Hodges Tomlinson, get that slot corner. Carl Brooks, we like him. Talked about him last week a lot. Kobe Turner, love him, right? As another guy who's a disruptive interior defensive lineman. Obviously, Voorhees got injured, so that, we'd go with a different guard there. But receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton out of West Virginia. I need to look a little bit more at him. I don't know a ton about him, but I like getting a receiver, though, on day 3. Keaton Mitchell, so we got a halfback want to get a halfback in there. So, right. And then Malik Cunningham, quarterback. Okay. Yeah. So Kyle, yeah, I like a lot of the players you got on here. I think, if I'm just doing one cornerback, I'm looking more outside corner if it's me, because Murphy plays so well in the slot, but that's just me. But, maybe they address that in free agency, or they just stick Murphy outside full time and go Hodgins, Tomlinson inside. So, yeah, nitpicking, but good mock, right? Grandize is giving you some guff here. Worst mock ever. Just kidding, right? Okay. I like it though. Really liked Ojulari, Avila, right? Brooks, Turner, some nice players here. Thank you for your mock, Kyler, my friend. All right. And yeah, what you're saying, as long as you train back for Wilson, that's fine. Just don't take him with Anderson on the board. I agree. I am not taking Wilson at pick 3. For me, it's got to be a trade back. That's me. So I completely agree with that, right? Yeah, Grandizer would like to see outside corner, right, as well. Yeah. But all right. Next up, we have Anthony Kennedy. Thank you for your mock draft, Anthony. I don't know if you've been in the draft in the chat tonight, but I know a longtime supporter of the channel. So he's got a trade back to 5 and then took Jalen Carter, right? Then Kalijah Cansey. So that would be a disruptive pair, right? I mean, all legal things aside, that would be one heck of interior defensive line, right? So that'd be disruptive. Then DeJuan Jones, the right tackle, right? We talked about him a lot. And then Luke Whippler, the center. There's the Hopkins trade in here, right? Hopkins in a 4th for a 2nd. Okay. Then we got halfback Zach Charbonnet, who's a guy who's had a nice combine, really nice running back, really talented. Michael Wilson, receiver that we've talked about a bit, out of Stanford, who's a lot of people really like him. Tight end on day 3, Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion. Another big receiver, Jake Bobo out of UCLA. So getting a couple receivers. And then Keaton Mitchell, another halfback, a little bit out of Coastal Carolina, or East Carolina, I'm sorry, a smaller school prospect. So yeah, Cansey and Carter, that's intriguing, right? So, I mean, got a couple receivers, big receivers, got a couple halfbacks, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, no cornerbacks, right? We'd like to see a cornerback on most of these drafts typically, but maybe you figure they're going to address that in free agency. So yeah, I mean, listen, Carter and Cansey, that would be something, right? we got a theme here from Drew. Fixed half our O-line, half our D-line, one mock. Can't be. Nice. All right. So nice. Thank you, Anthony, for that mock draft. Finally, we get to the man. Can't be mad about that, right, Drew? Drew McWhorter's mock. Will Anderson, 3rd overall. DeJuan Jones, seeing him a lot tonight. Luke Whippler, and there's a trade for that pick, right? So Luke Whippler, center. Eli Ricks, I like him, in the 3rd round, good value. Michael Wilson, we talked about him a little bit. Rashawn Johnson, love that pick. Jalen Redmond, defensive tournament, Oklahoma, had a nice 40 time, as I recall. Or I think he had a nice combine. He was one of the quicker defensive linemen, if I remember correctly. Then we went cornerback, Mekhi Blackman out of USC, and then trading a 3rd to safety. So yeah, I mean, again, Anderson, you can't that's a great pick. Can't argue about that unless you want to trade back. But Ricks, yeah, Grandizer likes that, right? Yeah, I love Rashawn Johnson. So I think this is a good mock. I think you hit all the things we're looking for. Maybe like a guard in there somewhere, but can't fix everything in one draft, right? Fix half of it, right? David, opinions on Bubble. I don't know a lot about. I need to look at him more closely, but I know he's big. He's day 3, at UCLA. I think he's got decent speed. So I'm always intrigued though by those big receivers on day 3. So I would not have a problem taking a flyer on Bobo on day 3. So yeah. I mean, he's been on a few of my mock drafts. So yeah. I need to, obviously we're all kind of learning, or at least I know I am still learning about a lot of these players. So I need to look at him a little more closely, but he's a guy that I've seen before and that I think is an intriguing day 3 prospect. Drew saying first time I didn't trade back in one of these. Okay, yeah, so this is the first time not trading back. So obviously you go with Anderson, right? So, but yeah, good job, Drew. Fixing our pass rush and our tackle and our center and cornerback and receivers and halfback in one draft. Can't be mad about that. All right. Erva 8. Also Moore's goes by Moore's Legacy in here if I'm not mistaken. So I know it was in here earlier. He's got a trade back he took everything from the Falcons. He got multiple future first round picks and other picks future first round pick and third, fourth, fifth. He got the Ricky Williams trade here. All right. So major trade back for a lot of future picks, right? And then Christian Gonzalez, we love that pick, right? We talked about him a lot. Ojulari, love him in early second round, really polished pass rusher. Luke Whippler, center, love that. A-Shane, we've talked about that. Tank Dell, we've talked about a lot tonight. Hodgins Thomason showed up a lot. Kobe Turner, Cam Jones, linebacker out of Indiana. Aiden O'Connell in the 6th round. Got a little bit of trade for some extra picks. Trey Dean, the safety, Aubrey Miller, a linebacker there, and Devonsha Maxwell, a defensive interior lineman out of Chattanooga. So, yeah, a lot of nice picks here. I mean, love Gonzalez and Ojulari. Yeah, maybe a few things again that I'm not big. I'm not as high on Dell as other people are. Maybe it's just because, or if nothing else, I don't really want to go another small receiver at this point. That's just me. Love Kobe Turner. So yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of the key spots we're looking at though. So nice. There we go. Realistic mock draft. Yeah. I mean, listen, I could definitely see something like this playing out, except for getting that many picks, right? But yeah, nicely done. I like a lot of those picks though. I mean, some players I really like on here. So there we go. We've got through it all of those mock drafts, only 2 hours and 21 minutes and 27 seconds right now. These are definitely marathon mock drafts, but I appreciate y'all submitting them and giving me a chance to kind of look at your thoughts, and we get to talk about this and learn about the prospects together and, hear your feedback on all these mocks and the picks. So, yeah, this is the most fun thing I do on Cardinal Rule, and I hope you all enjoyed. I appreciate everyone hanging out with us. So we're going to get out of here so everyone can, get doing what they need to do for the rest of the night and stuff, and we can all sleep, right? But thank you for hanging out. Thank you for your mock drafts. Thank you for all the comments. I appreciate you guys. The draft's going to be here before we know it. Free agency's around the corner. Excited to see what happens with that. So we will be doing some content around that. So, aside from that though, we're going to get our shout outs up for our channel members, get the song on the way out, and appreciate everyone hanging out with us. So we will see you all later. Have a great evening, and till next mock draft, peace.
Hey, yo, it's Joe.